Hello this evening. We're going to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance. Ms. Ackermite, roll call, please.
Mrs. Urbane. Present. Mr. Storm.
Present.
Mrs. Tierney. Here. Mr. Stahl.
Present.
Dr. Krebs. Here. Mrs. Mark.
Here.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Okay. I will be presiding during the nomination election of the office of president. Nominations will not need a second. However, a motion for the candidates nominated is in order and requires a second. A roll call vote will be used as a method of recording the vote. If more than one candidate is nominated, a roll call vote will be taken with each board member stating which candidate he or she supports. And at the conclusion of the vote, the president will be seated and conduct the remainder of the elections of the remainder of the officers. At this time, do we have any nominations for president? Do we have any other nominations? Okay, we will need a motion. Yeah, we'll need a motion.
Yeah, moved by Mr. Stahl.
Yes.
Supported.
Nominate, yes, Roger, sorry. I'll support that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Stahl, supported by Mr. Storm. All those in favor signify aye. Ms. Ackermite, roll call, please.
Okay, Mr. Stahl.
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney.
Yes.
Ms. Urbane. Yes. Mr. Storm.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mrs. Mark. Yes. Dr. Krebs.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that motion carries, and Mr. Meyer is once again president. Thank you so much for serving.
Thank you, fellow board members. At this time, we will be selecting the office of vice president. Do we have any nominations for vice president?
Nominate Mrs. Marks.
All right,
Support.
so we have a nomination for Ms. Marks. Anyone else? Any other nominations? All right, so I'll treat Ms. Tierney's nomination as a motion and supported by Mr. Stahl for the appointment of Ms. Marks as the vice president. Can we have a roll call vote? Ms. Ackermite?
Yes. Mr. Storm.
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney.
Yes.
Dr. Krebs.
Yes.
Mr. Stahl.
Yes.
Mrs. Urbane.
Yes.
Mrs. Mark.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes. All right, that moves us to the appointment of the position of secretary. Do we have any nominations for that position?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Stahl for the position of secretary.
All right, any other nominations? Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Marks, support by Mr. Storm for the appointment of Mr. Stahl as secretary. Ms. Ackermite, we have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Urbane. Yes. Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mrs. Mark.
Yes.
Mr. Stahl.
Yes.
Dr. Krebs.
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney.
Yes.
Mr. Storm.
Yes.
All right, that passes 7-0. Moves us now to the appointment of the office of treasurer for the board. Do we have any nominations for the office of treasurer?
I'd like to nominate Ms. Tierney.
Okay, so we have a nomination for Ms.
I'll
Tierney.
support that.
And supported by Mrs. Marks. I'll treat that as a motion unless there's, and is there any other nominations?
I'll support the motion.
All right. Ms. Ackermite, roll call, please.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mrs. Mark.
Yes.
Dr. Krebs.
Yes.
Mr. Stahl.
Yes.
Mrs. Urbane.
Yes.
Mr. Storm.
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. That completes the selection of the officers for the 2026 calendar year. That moves us now to the next item on our agenda, which is the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Stahl,
Support.
support by Ms. Marks. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. That moves us to the call to the public. If there is anyone here who would like to address the board, this is your opportunity to do so. Our protocol is to have anyone that is interested in addressing the board fill out a card in the rear of the room, deposit it into the box that Mr. Jones is walking by right now. When I call your name, you will have 3 minutes at the podium to address the board. It's not a question and answer session. It's just the opportunity to address the board regarding any topic. When there's 30 seconds left in your allotted time, Dr. Krebs will display the yellow card indicating you have 30 seconds left, and when the 3 minutes is up, she will display the red card. As of right now, I got one card. So Sid Adkin, the floor is yours, and if there's anyone else that would like to address the board, please fill out a card. Thank you.
Hi, Sid Atkin, Choir Booster President. I'm sure you're sick of me. I'm pretty sick of myself. But want to start by saying thank you. I watched the video from the December special board meeting, and I truly appreciate the depth of conversation surrounding the music programs, and especially the auxiliary rehearsal and performance space. It's clear that these ideas are being taken seriously, and that means a great deal to our families, students, and teachers. Tonight, I want to talk about vision. When voters are asked to support a bond, they absolutely want to know the essential infrastructure needs are being addressed. Safe buildings, reliable systems, and functional learning environments. I fully support those priorities. But for a bond to be successful, it also has to do something more. It has to inspire people to vote yes. Previous bonds have done that. The football stadium did that. The STEAM Center did that. They gave the community something tangible, something people could see, use, and feel proud of. Tonight, I'm asking you to consider the performing arts as the next major investment for Brighton area schools. Roughly 30 years ago, the BCPA was built, and it established Brighton as a leader in the performing arts across Livingston County. The continued success of Brighton Musical is a perfect example of that legacy. These productions bring the community together and showcase the talent, dedication, and teamwork of our students. But the BCPA is aging, and the classrooms and rehearsal spaces that support our musical and theater programs were not designed for the enrollment, scheduling demands, or level of collaboration we see today. That's why the auxiliary rehearsal and performance space is so important. This would allow Brighton Musical to rehearse fully with sets, movement, and staging without consuming as much of the already tight BCPA calendar. It would reduce scheduling conflicts, improve preparation, and allow the BCPA itself to be used more effectively and appropriately for appropriately sized performances. More broadly, this space would support theater rehearsals and smaller productions, band, choir, and orchestra performances, student-led showcases, and community events. It's a flexible solution that increases access, efficiency, and opportunity, not just for one program, but across the district. Combined with the dedicated music classrooms throughout BCPA and thoughtful BCPA improvements, this creates a truly performing arts complex, one that supports student growth, program sustainability, community engagement for decades to come. My family has lived in Brighton for 21 years. We chose this community because of the schools long before we even had children. I know many families who share the same story. Our community is only as strong as our schools, and our schools are strongest when we invest not in just maintaining what we have, but building for what's next. Let's give our community something to believe in, something they can see, something they can be proud of to support. Thank you for your time and for your continued leadership.
Thank you. All right. That closes the call to the public portion of our agenda and moves us to the superintendent report. Dr. Elwell.
Hey, I'm excited to say that we have three areas of our superintendent report today. We're going to begin with our school showcase of Scranton Middle School. I'm going to bring forward Melissa Setti, who's a Scranton Middle School teacher and our advisor for our middle school robotics program.
Speakers. All right. Hi, I'm Misty Setti. I'm the coordinator of the Scranton Robotics Program. Our team's in-house at Scranton, but really they're the kids' teams, so I'm going to let them talk to you tonight.
Hello, we are Scranton Robotics teams, the Scranton Technopups. We participate in First Tech Challenges, a first robotics competition. Our teams are comprised of 36 students from Scranton Middle School. Because First Cap's teams are of 15 students each, we have 3 teams. 15447 Technopups Orange, 17104 Technopups Black, 22420 Technopups Gray. Our students are very, very versatile and multi-talented. They also participate in band, orchestra, choir, tech academy, volleyball, cross-country, swimming, and science olympia, to name a few. This is our orange team with their robot. This team is all composed. This team is completely composed of 7th graders. This is the black team with their robot. This team is a mix of 7th and 8th graders. This is the gray team with their robot. This is a mix of 8th graders.
The season begins in early September when the team gets all the information about this year's game and the kit of parts to start their robot build. This year's season was called Decode. Students had to design and build a robot that could pick up different colored wiffle balls, shoot the balls into a tower, and earn extra points if the balls followed a specific color pattern. Teams have 6 weeks from when they learn their objectives of the game until the competitions start. Our teams practice 2 to 3 times each week for approximately 2 hours. These robots were designed, built, and programmed in about 36 to 48 hours of work time. The competitions are not only in the game, there is also a presentation to the judges and a team interview. Students are involved in all levels of the design process, from brainstorming to the building and programming of the robot. They use the engineering skills process to solve problems and develop communication skills, both with their peers and with their adult mentors.
Students are guided by their team mentors who are volunteers to our program. Most of them are parents of students on the team, but this year we had 5 high school students and 1 college student come to mentor as well. Here are some of our amazing mentors in action. Each team has 3 sub-teams: programming, design and build, PR and marketing. The design and build team creates the ideas and builds the robot. They use many engineering skills and processes. The programming team programs in Java. They write code for autonomous when the robot drives itself, and for teleop when it is driven by a student. They are working on programming for vision using cameras and QR codes to direct the robot's actions.
The PR team is in charge of designing flyers, stickers, pins, the pit banner, spiritware, and the team shirts. Then they go to Mr. Carney's lab at the high school to make the things they have created. Our teams each came up with their own unique solution to this year's game and built 3 distinct robots. They took these robots and competed in 2 qualifying competitions, one in Flint and one in Temperance. Our teams did well and made Brighton proud. We had 1 top 8 finish, 1 alliance captain, and a 2nd place for the innovation reward. This year's teams were invited to work with the students at U of M and tour the new Ford Robotics Center. They had a chance to be hands-on with some of the robots here, including the Boston Dynamics dog.
This year's teams were invited to work with the students at U of M. Oh. Robotics isn't only about building robots, it also builds friendships. Plus, it's fun. Our program teaches the students what they need to know to join the high school team and hit the ground running. Because of what we do at Scranton, the high school team is strong. This year, they have 9 freshmen who are alumni of the Techno Clubs. The high school team also has won the Sustainability Award for the past 2 years because of our pipeline. Thank you to our generous sponsors who helped make this year possible. Thank you for your time this evening. We would like to take a few moments to demonstrate our robots to you.
All right, if the drivers and operators would come up, please. All right, so during the competition, there were 2 large towers that they scored points by shooting the wiffle balls into. They had to pick up the balls, have them inside their robot. They could only carry 3 at a time. There was a predetermined color pattern that they were trying to make as the balls went through the towers. I couldn't fit a tower in my car. Sorry, I tried. So they're just going to drive around and show you some of the things the robots can do. Their agility and shoot a couple balls for you and just kind of show you what they built. Ready? Yeah, go ahead.
Just shoot it towards us so we don't.
Not at us, though. Don't shoot at us.
On the car. There we go.
You can all go on and say hi.
It's not taking, it's the curve of the wall. Oh, yeah. Let's try to bring the.
As you can see, each robot is unique and does the same thing in different ways. Heads up, Mr. Renner. Here they come.
Yes, we got it out. Okay, we got it out. Yeah, it's fun, but we got it out, so. I can't. I don't want to hit Mr. Runner.
That was a good one. All right, 30 more seconds.
He's intake. This up.
All right, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, drive them back. Bring them back. All right, drive them out there so we can load them up. Good job, guys. All right, thanks, team, for coming. Thank you for... Yeah. Sure, all right. It's picture time. Would you like pictures too?
Okay, get them out.
All right, Ms. Inventors, come on up.
Do that, then bring the robots out.
Yeah,
Do I have to dismiss, stop sharing?
Yeah, just stop sharing.
That would be embarrassing if I started grading, huh? If I started grading. Whoops.
Yeah, right.
Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Okay, yeah, thank you. All right, you know the rope.
You got that?
I know.
I'm so excited. I wonder if they're going to be excited for a number.
Yeah, I hope so.
Don't click it to the next thing. I'm gonna say, okay, and now we're proud to present.
Really?
You just open it. You just open it.
Well, I want you to say how we can accomplish that though. Keep telling us the real process.
No, you say it. I don't care.
They're gonna see. Oh, there we go.
No, we saw it. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, just like a friendly reminder or something. We're good when you're ready. Almost. Yeah, I know. All good.
All right, hi everyone. I'm Ella,
I'm Reese.
and we're here to do the Brighton High School report. I don't know how we're supposed to follow that up, but we're gonna try. We actually are very excited and proud to present our final Pink Week number. This year, we were able to raise $103,031.11, which is not only a record-breaking number, but the first time that we've ever been able to break 100,000, which is crazy. We have our Trinity Check presentation on the 20th, where we get to show the Trinity Cancer Center this big number, and I just know that they're gonna be so grateful and they're gonna use it for so many amazing things, and I'm really proud to just be a part of it. Also at the high school, we were able to do our holiday assembly. It was the Friday before break, which is just a fun way to go into break. Our theme this year was Holiday Express, kind of like a Polar Express knockoff. And it was like a train, and then it would go through the different stops, and then each of the different stops was like a different skit. We were able to have Palm perform, the Drumline perform, which was super cool. And then also this year, we were able to feature the High School Musical, like their skit this year, which is Frozen. So that's really fun. And they were able to sing a song for us, which is cool. And hopefully it'll encourage more people to go see the musical this spring. Yeah, it was really fun. And then lastly, for me, we have the Operation Christmas Wishes video, which is posted. You can watch it at BHS Video, and it goes through the whole process of fundraising, wrapping the presents, packaging everything up, and then actually delivering it. And it's really cool to see all the kids' faces just light up. So if you haven't watched it already, I'd really recommend it. It's just cool to see all the work that we put into this experience actually come out to a final product.
So over this past couple weeks, we've had a lot of important things happening for NHS. Most importantly, we have decided on our charities that we will be working with for Senior Survivor this year, and that will be Fund a Life and the Children's Healing Center. Fund a Life, I actually have a personal connection with. It's my soccer coach who runs the charity, and I'm so excited that we have the opportunity to help them out. They're a great program that works with cancer patients and trying to help them through their journey and help them with their lives onward and afterward. It's a really great cause, and I'm excited we're going to be part of it. And along with that, we have the Children's Healing Center, which is just social and emotional healing for kids dealing with different diseases of multiple kinds. And we're super excited to be providing opportunities for both of these charities to raise a lot of money during our Senior Survivor weeks. And finally, another big thing that just happened at BHS was our DECA districts. This year we had 89 participants from Brighton, and a record-breaking 68 of them qualified for states, which is awesome. And we're very excited to have so many different chances at sending our students to the International Career Development Conference, which this year I believe is in Georgia, I want to say. So that's super exciting. And yeah, that's all for us this time. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate all the updates.
Of course.
Of course.
Do you guys still have the camera on the hallway running? That is such a cool thing where kids come up to it, they talk, and
Oh, we did make a video of that.
Yeah.
We'll be sure to get a link in our next one, for sure.
Pop up, and it was just cool to see kids that would probably normally not say a thing, and they just.
It was super
Yeah,
fun.
that was
I think that
was,
might actually also be on our
That was
BHS
Mrs.
video.
Costello, our new
Yeah.
communications person.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, next up, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jones to do our budget amendment, walk through and answer board questions. But before I do that, I just want to mention what, for anybody in the public, anybody online, what the budget amendment's all about. When the budget is done in June of every year, much of that budget is based on projections, on predictions of what our enrollment's going to be, what the state budget is going to be. Those that may know that the state budget was not completed until October this year, for example. So mid-year, CFO, Mr. Jones, he will go through and he will make a more precise budget that will align with the exact state budget that is passed, with the exact enrollment that is done in the fall. It also makes adjustments for things, all like our utilities and all different aspects of both revenue and expenditures, and he's going to walk you through that now. But before he does it, I just want to say he's doing an absolutely fantastic job. Very precise, very communicative, very timely, and I've appreciated everything he's done. Met last week with the Finance Committee to review this budget amendment. Look forward to hearing your questions here tonight. So thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you. All right, amended budget time. Okay, so in your packet, there's a resolution to approve 5 budgets, the amendments to 5 budgets: the general fund, which is our general operating fund, food service fund, the community education fund, our student activity fund, and then our capital projects fund. So I'm going to just walk you through what was different between the original budget that was approved in June and the amended budget. So the biggest piece is that the per pupil, the foundation amount that the state establishes that we get paid for each student, we had budgeted $10,000 exactly, and the state budget, the final state budget came out with $10,050, so that did give us a pickup in revenue. The actual student enrollment, based upon the November audit, was about 110 FTEs lower than what we had budgeted. Most of this was in shared services, which is really hard to estimate shared services in May when it doesn't start until September. A lot easier for us to budget our students here in Brighton. But overall, that's still just a 1% difference from what we budgeted, because we have now over 10,000 FTEs in our budget. And then finally, which we spent a lot of time, obviously you had to go through, is we opted out for the 31AA, the mental health and safety funds from the state. So that was in the original budget. It was taken out for the amended budget because we opted out. On the expenditure side, the final negotiated salary increase with our bargaining units was 3.5%. Our original budget was 2%. The reason I used 2% was because that's what we had, what was in the contracts for last year. And so, but I want to remind you that the only difference in the amended budget is the difference between the 3.5% and the 2%, because we had already put steps into the budget. And then finally, as far as the 31A funds go, I do want to point out that the money that we used the 31A for, none of those expenses are going to go away. We pay our psychologists, our social workers, our counselors, and all of our security people out of that fund, and none of those programs are going to change. It's all going to stay the same, so we're just going to cover that now with general fund dollars. So bottom line, our excess revenues went down from just over $2 million. We were at $2,072,000, and it is now $1,028,000 for our excess bottom line. That gives us a projected fund balance of about $22.7 million, which is right in what we call our sweet spot. You want to be between 15 to 20%, and that would put us at 18%. Any questions on general fund before I move on? All right. Okay, food service. Food service actually pretty easy because the state did continue to fund all meals. And so that really helps our revenue side. Our volumes are up. again this year, so we're looking at about a 5% increase in our revenue. But being that it is food service, if our revenues go up and the more meals we serve, that means the more food we have to buy. And also during our negotiations, again, this is also impacted. We had a 2% increase budgeted, and it ended up being 3.5%. So bottom line now is the excess net revenues is actually, it's a excess expenditure of about $66,000, which we actually need to do because with the state funding all of our meals and because of the rules on we can't have excess fund balance, we have to make sure we spend our fund balance and then some. So we will, again, at the end of this year, we will still have an excess in our fund balance, which we'll have to work off next year. Community ed actually come in, the revenues and expenses overall came in very, very close to what we had budgeted. I am looking at the district contribution for all of community ed services to be about $770,000. And just to give you a comparison, the final audited number for last year was about $952,000. So we are looking to do a little bit better than last year. All right, capital projects fund. So this fund, we had a beginning balance of about $9.3 million in there. So the projects that are approved and in the budget for this year is we finished the replacement of the turf at Scranton. We have to put our down payment down for our 2 new turf fields over at the high school. We replaced the storage tank, the fuel tanks, call them storage tanks, but the fuel tanks over at the bus garage. And then we are in the process of right now doing the renovations over at the Miller building. So all those were budgeted. That would give us a fund balance at the end of the year of about a little bit under 7.7 million. But I do want to point out that we have already signed the contract. We did it last year for the turf fields at the high school, and when those are finished this summer, we'll have to spend about $1,052,000 to finish those off. So right now, uncommitted capital projects fund with this budget would be about $6.6 million. And that's all I got. Questions?
I have just a few questions. Sure, go ahead. So, shared services, how do you anticipate shared services impacting revenue? If shared services were to go away, which we all hope they do not, how would that change the revenue that the district depends on to support our existing budget?
Our bottom line revenue, our bottom line excess would be a negative 7.2 million. But I want to point out.
Our bottom line what?
The bottom line would be
A deficit.
a deficit of 7.2 million. But let's keep in mind that a good chunk of that is from the 31AA dollars, which we opted out of. So we lost about $1.5 million from that grant. So that would put us, if we actually had taken it, which would be comparative to last year, it would be about $5.5 million, which is pretty comparable to what we've done the past few years.
Comparable in the context of the amount of revenue?
The dollars, yes.
The dollars, yeah.
Yes.
But so if, without shared service revenue, our district would run
Yeah.
approximately a $5.5 million deficit?
Yes, that's correct.
Good. And then the other question I had was regarding the capital. That was was it your last slide? Can you mind clicking to it? So there's roughly $6.6 million available today for our board to appropriate and use if in fact we elected as a board to do that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And our discussions have been to kind of wait until we see how the bond election goes, so we have a better, we could do a better strategy of how to use those funds. Yep.
I just have a question for clarification on the cafeteria, the food expense. You said 5%. Is that year over year? So
No,
compared
that's
to
comparing
last
to
year?
budget. It's, I could get you the year over year, I don't know what that is, but that's compared to the original budget.
And do you might not know this, and I don't need to know it tonight, but I'm just curious, do you know if the increase is fairly even between breakfast and lunch going up, or are more students, or is it one versus the other?
I can find out.
Just curious, okay.
We get all the stats from them, but I
Yeah.
can look that up.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm. Anything else? All right, thank you. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that presentation. All right, that closes the superintendent report and moves us to the organizational matters. These are the various items that we need to address at the beginning of every year as required by law. And the first thing that we will be addressing is the setting of the dates, times for the meetings for this year. In the board packet, there's proposed dates for meetings. There would be a meeting at the second Monday of every month. There would be a second meeting in the latter part of the fourth Monday of the month for the months of April and August, and then there's another proposed meeting built in for the 20th of this month, which we previously discussed for the purpose of finalizing our discussion regarding the proposed bond. So that's what's in the packet as the proposed dates. If someone wants to make a motion for those dates, or if someone wants to make a motion for additional or less dates.
I'll make a motion to go with these dates. Imagine we can always adjust if we have.
I'll support that.
All right, got a motion by Mr. Stahl, supported by Mr. Storm. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. The next item are the depositories, and as presented in the packet, the proposal is to designate the following banks as the depository funds for the Brighton area schools: Comerica Bank, PNC, My Class, Level 1 Bank, Flagstar Bank, Old National Bank, PFM, MyLaugh, Huntington, State Bank, Chemical Bank, and Baker Tilly. Do we have a motion to approve those banks for the depository funds?
I'll make a motion to approve those banks
All right.
with depository funds for the coming year.
A motion by Ms. Marks, supported by Mr. Stahl. Any discussion?
Just a question. Dave, why do we have so many banks? Like, why must we approve, like, why would a district that's $130 million need all these banks?
So, first up, we have three main banks that we work with. One is Comerica, and that's where our general funds are, and our debt service funds. And then the second one is the MI Class is actually an investment, basically an investment tool. So all of our excess cash goes into there, so we can make good interest on it. And then the third is Huntington. Huntington does our processing on our bond payments and all that. Those are the three keys. The others, Baker Tilly is our bond advisors, so they're the ones who help us do all the analysis and we'll do the setup of the bond, if that comes through. So there are, yes, we do need to use quite a few different banks.
Do we have to, though?
We don't have to.
Like, who establishes the number of banks that we as a district need to use?
I think it's just been done over time. I mean, all these banks were in place since I've been here, and I have not seen any reason to change anything. For example, like MI Class, we make a really good return. Their job is really to invest money. So
So like Baker Tilly, why would we need Baker Tilly to be a bank for Brighton area schools?
they're actually a bond advisors, they're really not a bank.
Okay.
And so what they do is they do all of our bond analysis for us, so all the projections of millage rates on all the different
Yeah.
projects, that all comes from them.
But isn't that a service we pay them for?
Yes.
So why are they grouped? It says to designate the following banks as depository funds for Brighton area schools. Wouldn't they be a third-party advisor that we hire to do that service?
That's what they do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Baker Tilly's all over the state, like, they're a very reputable firm. Why would they be considered a bank that we have to authorize Brighton area schools to work with? It says it's a depository funds for Brighton area schools. When all they're a third-party professional services firm. Right, right. Does anyone know?
The only caveat I would throw with that is, they do have in their umbrella of services, when you do sell bonds, they do have the banking arm that can manage that money.
I'm sure they do.
And I think that's originally, Andy, I think that's where that originated was, and it's just carried forward. I mean, we can remove them, I mean, that's certainly not.
I mean, I was just,
Yeah.
my kind of basis for asking the question is the following. I hate rubber stamping these things that just come across once a year. We agree, yep, these are the depository banks. Like, you just said it. Since I've been here, these have been the banks. Well, you're the CFO of the district. We want to empower you and Dr. Outlaw and the administration to look critically at these things. I can't imagine why we would need all these banks under any circumstance. Like, why do we have all these banks? Huntington, why do we need Huntington?
Huntington does our processing on the bonds.
But couldn't another bank do that? Of course. So, I mean, what's the, from your perspective as the individual who leads our financial arm here, like, why would you not want less banks versus more? Like, what's the advantage you see to have all these banks?
Well, the one thing I do see is diversity. You have, you add a little layer of risk if you would put all of your money into one.
Well, I'm not saying one, but like, go from,
But it's more based upon the service that they provide. It's more based, so like I said, Huntington is for, debt service. MI class is for investment services. America is for, they process all of our checks and, all of your operating transactions. But it's more based upon their service.
Do we still do the, I'm sorry, do they, you still do the loans at the end of the year to get, how was that work? We used a specific bank for that.
You mean like with a line of credit?
Yes,
We don't,
for the line of credit for payment?
we don't do that. We used to when we didn't have the cash flow.
Right.
We needed a drawing a line of credit, but since.
Was one of them, one of these people?
Typically what you do if you need a loan is you take out a loan on your state aid
Yeah.
payment. And so they advance you the money and then they take it out incrementally throughout the year. But there was a point in time where we had a line of credit with one of these banks. Sure, at one point in time you did. Right, but fortunately, we haven't had to go that route in a long time, so.
so there's 11 entities referenced in this motion, 11. I am not suggesting we go to one, but in the spirit of not just kind of existing in the status quo, would there be value in trying to trim this from 11 to 5 or 11 to 6?
Just going to say, in my experience, we're authorizing them to have all of these banks. They don't necessarily use them, but it allows them to shop for the best rates when things come available. So if they needed a line of credit, or if they need, a new bond, maybe another bank has better services, better, capability, so it allows them to shop. Whereas if we don't designate that, they can't shop at that bank. So we're designating several so they can shop around.
They can come to the board at any time for anything, and we can authorize them to take whatever action they need to take 365 days a year. Like 11 banks? Just, it seems crazy. That was all. Yeah. I mean, you can shop a bank whenever the bank's open. That's common. We all do it. I hope we all do it in our personal lives. I do. You borrow money, you look for the best rate. You go bank to bank and make phone calls and service.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. That moves us to item C, signatories. The packet includes a motion regarding signatories that in accordance with the Michigan General Law, in accordance with the Michigan General School Laws for General Powers School Districts, the Secretary is authorized to draw and sign orders upon the Treasurer for all monies to be distributed from the General Fund, Special Revenue Funds, all debt retirement funds, building and site agency funds, and further that such order be countersigned by the President of the Board of Education. Do we have a motion to that effect?
I feel like I should do it because of the secretary.
All right, I'll make a motion. And
Okay, I'll support it.
Support by Ms. Marks. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. The next one, still relating to signatories, is that the following personnel be designated signatories for the following funds: Superintendent of Schools and/or Assistant Superintendent for Finance and/or Director of Accounting, Certificate of Deposits, Savings Accounts, all internal accounts, payroll accounts, payable accounts, money market accounts, wire transfer of funds, and automated clearinghouse transfer of funds. And and that the athletic director be designated as the signatory for athletic officials' entry fee accounts. Do we have a motion for approval of that signatory authority?
I'll make a motion.
Support.
Moved by Ms. Tierney, supported by Mr. Stahl. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. That moves us to item D. This is for the authorization to transfer funds. The proposal is that the following employees are authorized to electronically transfer funds subject to the listed limitations. All funds with unlimited authority, superintendent and assistant superintendent for finance and director of accounting, and all funds with a $3 million limit, the assistant superintendent for finance designee. Do we have a motion for that approval of authorization?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Stahl, supported by Ms. Tierney. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. Moves us to the treasurer bond. The treasurer of the Board of Education is not involved in the handling of any money and therefore is not necessary to provide a treasurer bond. And the proposal is that we adopt a resolution that because the authority of money matter rests with the school district employees, that the resolution is that the Board of Education shall not provide a treasurer bond. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ms. Marks, support by Mr. Stahl. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. That moves us to the legal matters. Item F. In the packet, there's a proposal to retain the services of the Troon Law Firm. Do we have a motion for the retention of the services of Troon Law Firm?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Stahl,
Support?
support by Ms. Marks. Any discussion?
Just question I ask every year, you know, it just seems odd to me how back to the rubber stamping kind of status quo, every year the board agrees to engage the same firms. Is there any opportunity for us to consider another firm besides Troon? Like remind me, Roger, you did last year, what's the basis for us? Like, it feels like it's a monopoly, right? Every year we renew our, I don't, it's not a retainer, but
So we do use other law firms for other, whether it's Title IX issues.
But
you know,
general
but for
legal
general,
matters.
right, we've historically used the Troon firm. Obviously, they are our policy, you know, we utilize their services. And so there's been very good synergy from that standpoint, that when any issues come up, we're utilizing their policy program and obviously using them in dealing with any legal issues relating to something that might arise with respect to the policy. They've been our labor law attorneys for a long time. They've handled, you know, all of the labor grievances since I've been on the board. So, you know, and we've shopped it. I think either last year, a couple years ago, we specifically looked at, you know, we shopped. The rates are
You're in the legal
very
profession,
comparable.
You're in Livingston County.
Yeah.
There's no local firms that we could direct these monies to locally, like to keep the money in our community?
There really aren't. I mean, they're just not, because it's such a specialized area of the law for the most part.
Wow.
There's not that many firms, you know, there's a handful of firms, frankly, throughout the state that deals, you know, that has the level of sophistication and experience in dealing with school laws, or, you know, Title IX issues, or labor issues, you know, collective bargaining issues. I mean, there just aren't, you know, that many statewide, frankly, and not in Livingston County. Yeah. So, did you want to chime in?
I do. I would say, from my experience through this last collective bargaining, Troon definitely earned what they, you know, everything through that collective bargaining agreement. They did an amazing job. I will say, I agree with you on rubber stamping, and we should, you know, always see what our options are. I think Troon's theatrical memo to us on 31AA did not do us any great service, and in fact, the lower court judge that ruled on that came back and actually basically said the same thing. The things that Troon kept saying the sky was falling were not actually the case. And I think they cost our district $1.5 million by their theatrics.
Who else, Roger, you're the, I mean, as someone who lives in the legal space day to day, who would you point to as a competitor of Throon that would be of their stature and depth and, you know, where they have partners that, you know, have spent decades in this space? Like, what other firms are out there?
Well, Miller Johnson.
Miller Johnson, okay.
Is one that, it's probably their biggest competitor, I would say. And I think Miller Johnson, they do their own policy package as well, too, right? So,
Clark Hill.
yeah, Clark Hill,
okay.
yeah, Clark Hill, and Clark Hill has been used, I know, in some Title IX work that we've had. And then Collins and,
Collins
yeah,
and
they're,
Black,
that's another, the Collins and Black firm in Southfield. Yeah, they're a smaller firm. They're basically just a school law firm, whereas, you know, Miller Johnson and Troon, they do a lot more than just, you know, school law. But
And Albertson Lusk, they merged with Miller Johnson. That was another one. So
Yeah.
some of them
I mean, there's literally
have
like
become super.
4 or 5, you know,
Yeah.
statewide that really do it of, to any degree that, you know, Troon does it as well. It's just the reality of the situation. I mean, obviously, there's other firms that get involved with school litigation that are hired through like SETSAG, you know, when there's a lawsuit and they're defending school districts. You know, Gianmarco Mullins is one that, you know, gets hired a lot by, but that's not, they don't do like I don't think they do the core school law representation other than in the litigation context when there's a claim. But yeah, other than that, that's really it.
I mean, amongst the board, is the rest of the board comfortable with the arrangement as is? Is that something that everyone feels good about? I don't know that I have like hard feelings. It seems odd to me. Every year we just kind of say
Right.
yes, and it's,
I think last year, if I recall, you can remind me, we did make some calls, which I have no problem doing again, because to your point, I don't think it hurts to just make sure that, you know, there isn't a more competitive firm, and then we feel good about our choice. I do think, having been on the policy committee now for a few years, I have been very pleased with that. I mean, we don't always agree with what they send us, but they're very organized. They respond promptly when we have questions. I feel like their legal analysis has been very thorough, and I mean, you can probably chime in, Mr. Anastasov, because you've dealt with them a lot, but I thought from that perspective, we've gotten very good service, so.
Isn't that part of the reason we went that route? Because I do remember this discussion kind of similar last year, and they provide those notes for us. So we kind of researched that to find out who was doing what in the red lines, and it made it easier.
Well, the other thing is the challenge when you're saying, okay, we're gonna go out and see what other potential options are out there. I mean, you can go to any firm and you're gonna get a list of, this partner is gonna be billing at this hourly rate, you're gonna have this, so, I mean, they're all gonna have just the, you know, a range of, and depending on who you really want for a particular task, that's gonna really dictate what your cost is. I mean, I think the costs that we've incurred through Troon have been very reasonable. As another example too, they are handling the shared services work that, you know, we're on an appeal right now where the state denied funding, which we very significantly disagree with, and Troon is handling that and has been handling. And there aren't a lot of, I don't think there are many firms, just because there's not a significant amount of shared services work statewide. I think there's very few lawyers that really have the expertise in dealing with like shared services, and they do, and they've represented us in that space. So that's just another example, I would say. I mean, I just think you're gonna, you know, and I think we found this out, I couldn't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago, where we went out to look at other firms. Yeah, I mean, you just get a broad range of experience level, areas of expertise, and it's just gonna be all over the board, you know, unfortunately. So, yeah. All right, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. That moves us to item G, the organizational structure.
So Roger, I don't have a motion down there, but that was kind of when you talk about committees.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't necessarily, for purposes of, we can, have a consensus. So, the big issue, obviously, with regard to the organizational structure of the board is our committee structure. I obviously welcome, everyone's thoughts regarding the committee structure for this year. Whether we continue with the standing committee structure, if so, if we still utilize the same committees that we had in place for 2025, or if alternatively, there's a desire to move to a committee of the whole structure. So, Ms. Urbane.
I think our committee structure was generally effective this year, and I would like to continue it the way it is. But I would like to recommend that because we already post and we already do a call to the public, we're already meeting the Open Meetings Act, we allow additional board members to attend the meetings, not necessarily have a vote on the committee, but attend, be able to ask questions and gain knowledge from those committees, similarly to what we did with the facilities for the bond committee. I think it's helpful for some board members to be able to, if there's a topic they want to educate themselves more about or be able to ask questions, to be able to do that in the committee structure versus bringing those questions necessarily to the board table.
Mr. Stahl?
I don't disagree with that.
Ken?
The thing is that I see us
You
here.
could get that on there.
I see it create an impossibility for someone to suggest that a decision was made by 4 people and then bring it to board. Is there maybe some way we could just set it up so we can take turns once in a while to get in there, or something like that?
I agree with you,
just see
Ken.
it being a possible problem for us down the road.
If the person attending doesn't vote, there's no decision being there.
Oh, it can get sideways, and I'll spare everyone the reminder and drama of what I personally went through, but there's people out there who will make claims like that, and I would strongly avoid it.
If that's the case, then I suggest that we go to the committee of the whole then, because I do think there's a lot of people that, especially me, there are things that I want to learn more about, and we've not been able to get these questions at the board table, and I can't attend these committee meetings, and so I have a lot of questions that just go unanswered and I would suggest that we do the committee of the whole so that everybody can be able to learn and participate.
I have 2 questions that maybe you guys can clarify for me, but it's my understanding, so I would like to learn more, you guys know that, I love to be involved in everything, but I worry about legal exposure, and I don't know if there's any court cases for that, so as a new board member, I was under the impression that having 4 is a quorum. Now, Mrs. Urbane has stated that, you could go, you could just listen, observe. Has there ever been a court case where that has come out and it's like, I don't care if you were just, you had 4 there, you guys broke the rules?
We're not breaking the rules because we're already posting it as an open meeting. So a quorum is only there so that it's not an open meeting.
It creates enormous risk, because if you have someone politically who hates you and wants to come up with ways to make your life miserable, they can use those circumstances to make accusations that you then need to defend, and it becomes a slippery slope of doom.
But if it's so dangerous, why did we do it for the facilities committee? Because we had no issues, and we did it for the facilities committee where everybody came.
Well, I think you're talking about are you referencing when we were doing the tours of the building?
But
I
those
thought
were
that,
open meetings, and we posted, and we had call to the public every time, and so this would be the same.
I mean, I
I
view
think
that
that's
more as of a committee, that was kind of a committee of the whole, like a sort of a special committee of the whole where we all showed up, or whoever was available could show up to, at the different buildings to do a physical inspection. I mean, I think that's kind of a one-off in terms of, there really wasn't any dialogue. It was more of, we looked at the various buildings, and if we had questions of, Mr. Jacobs or, whomever, I mean, that's how I viewed it.
I mean, I had plenty of dialogue at those meetings with fellow board members about different things.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. But no decisions were made. Then we walked through and saw it, and then we had discussion later here.
But the same thing could be said, is that 4 people had a discussion, and so therefore,
Right, but
because
there
there
were
was no
more than
vote.
just us there. We had some, a couple ladies followed us around the high school. And we pretty much made that an open meeting. We just didn't have everybody show up.
And we can do the same with the other committees, is my suggestion, is that we allow people to attend and at least learn.
My preference is that we keep the committee structure as is. I appreciate the desire to learn more. I certainly ask a lot of questions of my fellow board members for committees that I'm not on. I've had really great response. I talked to Dr. Krebs at length over the weekend about the Finance Committee because I had a lot of questions. I'm not on that committee ahead of this. So my concern is if we move to that grouping, we're not going to be as functional because we will be held back about making any recommendations even. I'd be concerned in a committee with a 4th member there to then make a recommendation to the board because I am worried with someone else there. And I don't want it to just be a question-answer session. I do feel like in these committees, we make progress because we can really hone in on a topic or a subject. And do our due diligence versus being spread so thin across all the topic areas. I greatly appreciate the work that Mrs. Tierney and Mr. Stahl did for the facilities. I can't imagine if we had to, as a group, all do all of that. I mean, we did get to see the buildings, but they went and met and had multiple meetings without us. So from my perspective, I prefer to keep it in the format that we had in the last year.
My only concern with it is committee of the whole. We do an awful lot of meetings. We do more meetings than most school boards do, but getting everybody together for that at a special time, I mean, I'm happy that we don't have 4 meetings every, a week at the same, at 7 o'clock at night because that's when everybody's available. That would be my concern, is being able to make it to it because what's the time going to be? And are we literally talking about a meeting that normally we cut it off in 45 minutes, now we've got 7 people asking questions and it becomes a 2 or 3 hour meeting. I wouldn't be able to continue that. I've got work and a family.
Throw this out there as a compromise?
Yeah.
I think we do ourselves and the public a disservice by not allowing more people to have the conversation about our test scores and our academic results. Could we, and I've talked to a couple other school boards that do this, during COVID, they had to present to the whole board twice a year. And many of them continued, we did not. Could we do that we have progress on test results? So we do like in the fall, the fall we do M-STEP and those in AP tests in the PSAT, and then in the spring we do NWEA. And so twice a year we come with an academic report. So then the whole board gets all of the data, can ask questions about the data. The public gets the data, because I think we're doing ourselves a disservice, and that's one of my big things with the academic committee.
Couldn't the district just send that data to us, and then if we have questions, we could meet with stakeholders in the district to review it and discuss it?
I think what's happened is when you don't have a discussion as the whole, is different people are told different things. And I think and I also just think as we need to do, again, a lot of districts continue this after COVID, and it's a public service to also do it at the board table, to have the discussions about our results and accountability of the results and what we want to see. And that's been my biggest problem, is not being able to go to the academic committee, and because I can ask questions and I get an answer, and it's different than what these guys' answer is. And we need to be able to and again, to ask questions and learn from one another. If I have Katie might have one question about some academic results and I might have another, and I just think we are better as a district if we do that. And so I would offer that as a compromise.
I mean, if there's something, a topic that's important enough that the whole board should be privy to it, and like test scores as one example, I think that's certainly something we can entertain and have a conversation and present, as opposed to then saying, well, because of that issue, we should now have all of our standing committee meetings be open for everyone to attend. I mean, to me, those are two different.
And I tried that, and I got shut down. So, I mean, we did try that at a board meeting, to have these results and have the conversation. And I got 2 questions in and got shut down. And then the meeting, there was a motion to adjourn. So that's been my problem, is that we aren't bringing this stuff to the board table and having.
I don't remember there being any.
I think it was like 10:30 at night, we had been meeting for 3.5 hours, and there was like an interrogation that started with you and one other person. It wasn't someone presenting test results to the board. I don't have any issue with us as a board receiving test results. I mean, you know, there's a executive committee structure in place to get something added to the agenda. There's things I've asked to have added to the agenda before that haven't been added to an agenda. Like, I don't necessarily feel that we as a board need to like devote hours and hours of time digesting information that's already publicly available. And if we have a question, like, go and talk to the individuals that are responsible for aggregating the data and putting the reports together, and share those reports with the board, and ask Dr. Outlaw to put a link in his newsletter where public can click on a link and read all about the test results.
You know, if I could? You said something that made me think of this, because you kind of said, it. You just, well, then maybe we need a report from each committee every once in a while, so you know what's going on, and you can ask questions. We kind of have that with our board member, but we don't use it
I want
that
to be
way.
able to ask questions of the experts that are presenting this data in the committee and being able to have a discussion. And again, I didn't ask for the specific date. It was 10:30, I agree, but nothing else has ever been put on the agenda, so we still haven't actually had that discussion. Got 2 questions asked, and we were shut down. But again, other school districts across the state continued the COVID report, so all I'm asking is that if we're gonna continue the same structure, that we ask the administration twice a year to put it on the agenda, and let's have a board discussion on it.
And we did discuss this in the academic meeting, as it should be something. I'm in favor. I think that absolutely we should be sharing results publicly, and then we can have a discussion similar to kind of reviewing our strategic plan. I see no issue with, this is really what the district does, right? We educate the kids, that's our main priority. So we did speak about it. I think it got a little bit lost in maybe with the turnover with Dr. Mosier's departure, but now maybe we can talk about doing it, you know, twice a year. Seems very reasonable to me. I don't personally see an issue with it at all. And to Mr. Storm's point, you know, sending links out so families can access it too. Not everyone's going to watch a board meeting. I don't think that the district's trying to hide it. That's
No,
what I'm
it's
saying.
in my October newsletter to, 7,000, 8,000 people. So we're doing, so no problem.
Same thing with my committee. I think, especially, it's been kind of a lot right now, but now moving forward, there's going to be regular meetings, and there's no reason I can't, every meeting, let you guys know what we discussed in the last couple meetings. I think it's part of my job as committee chair. So I will bring that information and answer questions, and if I don't have the answers, get them. And lots of times those people are sitting back there looking at us anyway, so we have the opportunity too, because they will be around more often than not, I think, as we go through the bond. But I will make sure I make a report and let you guys answer, or if I don't know the answer, I'll get the answer.
That's a good compromise, too.
And I feel comfortable with that, as long as we have some opportunities to have answer questions.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that the committee structure is more effective. It just,
Okay, so we have consensus to move forward with the same committee structure, same committees. I mean, is everyone on board with being the same membership of each committee? I mean, we can just continue forward unless anyone has any desire to change up their membership? No?
I just have one more thing to say. And I was gonna look at the bylaws today, but I didn't. I'm guessing the organizational meeting is in our bylaws. But I looked up the state law, and the state law does not require us to do an organizational meeting every year. And I would suggest going forward, maybe we just do one every 2 years when new board members come on board. So that, I mean, a lot of those motions were lengthy and rubber stampy, and it seems to make sense that, so if we could look at maybe doing an organizational meeting every other year after the election instead of every year.
Would fully support that.
Yeah.
100%.
But I don't know, I don't know if that's in our bylaws, or if, do we have to amend the bylaw, how we have to do that, I did not look. but it is definitely not state law that we have to do it every
The
year.
funny thing is, two committees in the state too, and they still do it the same way too. Every beginning of the year, the first meeting is all.
Yeah, it's like, it's.
So is that something we can get feedback on in the next meeting and then actually vote on that? Like to implement that? That'd be great.
Okay. All right, well, that closes out all of the organizational matters and moves us into the for action portion of our agenda. Item A, minutes of December 8, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Stahl. Support by Mr. Storm. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That passes 7-0. That moves us to the school of choice for 2026, 2027. Dr. Alwal.
So we discussed this at the last meeting. It's our proposal from the administration is to continue with what we did last year. That would be opening school of choice for non-resident students actually on February 2nd, because that's a Monday. And for kindergarten, kindergarten would be, and junior kindergarten would be open through June 1st. And for 5th through 12th grade, it would be open through August 7th. And then we are proposing again this year, because of limited space in 1st through 4th grade, that we do limited enrollment. State law only allows limited enrollment for 1 month, and we have done the month of April every year. So that's what we're proposing. It worked really well last year, and we're asking for a repeat.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the school of choice program as presented and recommended by administration?
Or make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Bain. Support by Mr. Stahl. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. That moves us to policy updates. Mr. Anastasov?
Yeah, these are the same ones obviously presented last time in the for action. We do have others coming along, but these were more of, the majority of them are clerical changes suggested by Troon, some other law changes added into them. But like I said, this is about a third of them that we're still wrapping up at this point.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the policy updates as presented?
Well, I'll make the motion and then have
Sure.
amendments on one of them.
All right. Motion by Mr. Bain.
I'll support.
Support by Ms. Marks. Any discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to amend the rental policy. We put in there that they need to provide a 1099. It has come, after some research, it's come to my attention that not all of them are 501c3s, but they do have similar documentation, and in fact, one of them already sent both John Thompson, myself, and maybe Dave, all of their finances. So what I think we want to amend it to is a 1099 or similar documentation.
Pages in.
On page 26, it does say Form 990 or equivalent tax document.
I would just take out tax, because some of them don't, they simply have a bank account, so they're not actually filing taxes.
Okay.
So would your motion be to just strike the word tax?
Yep, yes.
Okay.
We just want to make sure all organizations can comply.
Sure. Okay, so do we have a second for the amended motion to strike the word tax on page 26?
Support.
Support by Ms. Tierney. Any further discussion regarding the amended motion to approve as presented with striking the word tax on page 26? All right, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. That moves us to item D, accelerated math, grades 5 through 7. Dr. Alwal.
Okay, I shared this information at the last meeting and also with the academic committee previously. This is step 2 of an effort to improve our sequencing between 5th grade and 8th grade. Creating a natural sequence to Algebra 1 and 8th grade, one where we accelerate through curriculum rather than skip curriculum. And the write-up is here. This is a summary. It's a follow-up from what we talked about before. And I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
All right, do we have a motion to move the accelerated math grades 5 through 7 program as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Stahl, Support by, who was it? Ms. Tierney? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. That moves us to item E, the budget amendment 2025-2026. Mr. Jones, I assume has nothing further to present? than what
Details are
was-
in your packet.
I appreciate that. Do we have a motion to approve the budget amendment for 2025-2026 as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Urbane. Support by Mr. Stahl. Any discussion?
I would just like to say how much I appreciate Mr. Jones' conservative budgeting in the wake of the 31AA and some other issues, the fact that we're still in the positive and not having to cut vital services. I just very much appreciate the conservative budgeting at the time. Well, thank your team as well.
Yeah, it is an amazing team, for sure.
Well, no, I meant from the district, how well I think about
Okay. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. Moves us to, for future action, item A, resolution calling for election May 2026. Just generally speaking, do you want to start? Ken?
Actually, what I'll be honest, I'd kind of like to just move this right to tell us to go by the time we're done tonight, if that's possible. If there's questions that need to be answered, fine. If not, put us on a path to start organizing this and going. So I kind of want to go over everything we get that working on it. I just want to go through elementary, middle school areas. If there's any concerns that people would like addressed, we can kind of just scroll through them real quick. Hawkins Elementary.
And our construction and architecture folks, as well as our own operation team, and Brian Jesse from Barton Mallow with Technology, they're all here to answer questions, and they're all here if you need questions.
So Hawkins, has there been any concerns that you'd like addressed on the Hawkins plan? Got on the desk. Great big letters that you can use. That is the price tag on what we are proposing. We've gone through this before. Is there a specific thing that anyone wants to talk about on Hawkins? No. Shall I move on to the next one? Hilton Elementary. This is one where we're creating some space near the cafeteria area, which is kind of like a media center right now, and taking that for the classrooms that are needed. In order to do that, we're moving the gymnasium part towards the outside of the building to make sure that they still have that. So this is more about classroom space.
I guess one point I would like to interject, though. So there's a line item on each of these for technology, and it's, you know, it's added in the 2028 year. I know we've talked in the past about some of the information that we had as far as what was going to be potentially built into the amounts that we were budgeting or projecting in the bond was really more identified as device replacement. There wasn't so much of an investment and a commitment to you know, looking at emerging technology or instructional technology, and you know, even though we may not know what that could be in 2028 or even further down the road, potentially by the time this this bond would completely play out. How is that? Is that the numbers that are built into each building? Does that represent just a pro rata student technology number based on an overall larger budget? And if so, how much has it changed from the amount that was dedicated towards just like device replacement versus potentially investing in like emerging technology for instruction or just curious as to how that's evolved at this point.
So I met actually last week with Nick Castile, the technology director, and what, at his request, what we did is we actually moved some of the device replacements, so the loose devices, which would be Chromebooks for the students and the staff computers and things, out of the work list, and then added in, $2 million across all of the buildings in order to earmark that for emerging technologies. Again, knowing that might not be anything that we know right now, but by 28, 29, there'll be new things, obviously, out there and available that we could potentially.
And that is reflected in our numbers that we have tonight, correct?
I did it with him on Friday, so I'm not sure, I have not got with these folks here to make any adjustments in that. But, by taking out the devices and putting that back in, the number is relatively, it's pretty similar, but I can shore that up with these guys.
We could clarify, we hadn't updated those numbers, but I was told we were generally in the overall number was the right number.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't account for device replacement. I mean, that's gonna have to happen too. My point was, I don't wanna necessarily, if we're gonna go to the voters and say, this is our blueprint on how we look in our vision for the district over the next 5 years, and somebody says, well, what are you doing about, potential emerging technology? Like, well, we don't have anything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that they're mutually exclusive. I think it'd be prudent for us to include, to the extent, we think it's reasonable for things like device replacement. I just don't want to, in doing so, rule out the idea of really building in a number that gives us the ability. I mean, the Health Ox, like all of the amazing things that we added to our Health Ox program was never, I mean, we didn't even know that existed when we did the bond, and that's become an, amazing instructional tool, because we had the money built in, that we were able to invest in that technology. And I would really like to be able to have the opportunity to do that, even if it's not something that we can identify with specificity right now, or maybe doesn't even exist right now, but, could exist or might exist in 3 years. So I'd like to get some further, I just want to make sure we don't short sell ourselves, to be able to have the ability to invest in the technology that we need from an instructional standpoint to give our students the best opportunity for education that we can.
Rogers, to your point, since we don't know what this is, wouldn't it be better to just carry a percentage of contingency for something like that? Because it could also be, if we don't encounter anything, then that can be swiped, that can go into something else, building or whatever we might decide it might be. If we don't know what it is, what do we label it, just in case?
Well, I think it's
Well,
technology.
Right, it would be technology, but we don't.
know what it is.
And we have, I imagine we have contingency built into that, maybe we just bump that.
Well, that's another question I had, was are we at 10%? Is that what we're looking, is that what's built into this, is a 10% contingency?
There's contingency and escalation built into the overall program. I gave you numbers that were like both ways, so I don't know which number you pulled into this sheet, but yeah, if you applied it the same as the construction to the technology, is that true?
Yeah, I mean, we still haven't aligned with their most current budgets, because we haven't sat down and coordinated that. It sounds like they have adjusted that, we need to incorporate that latest update.
Okay. So those would be the two kind of unknowns from my perspective as it relates. I didn't mean to jump in and Hilton, it just,
no, sure.
it's the one that carries through on all of these. I figured I might as well raise the
And
topic now.
my understanding is that the number that you have on your sheet did not change. It was where those dollars go is what has changed since they've been working on this.
So I guess if the question for me then would be if you want to add back in, the devices to the program and see,
then it's going back up.
Yeah, I think
the
we should.
total.
They're both important, right? My point was we shouldn't just ignore
Yeah.
one aspect of it.
Yeah, and that was the key thing. When I talked to Nick, it was, even though they weren't going to be procured out of the bond, the idea is that you're on a cyclical replacement of Chromebooks and of devices for students and staff. So, that those dollars would have to come from the general fund or elsewhere in the future. So.
We have the technology slide, and looking at it, it's about $500,000 per building at the elementary level. It goes up, obviously, because you have more students. So right there, that's 2 million just at the elementary. For instructional technology equipment, it looks like about 730 at
Where's this,
Scranton.
Katie? I'm sorry.
Right there.
There's a
Sorry.
separate sheet?
It's up here on this, Fred,
Oh,
Katie, an updated,
See that?
Presentation.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, and then at the high school, it's 2.133 million for student technology, or, I'm sorry, instructional technology.
So instructional technology beyond the devices also includes, the interactive flat panel, the IFP. There was actually a intermediary piece, because the IFP is not at end of life yet. We put them in the last bond. So there's an updated part that you can add to your current panels to, kind of bring them up to date before the end of life of the panel. And then there's the panel replacement that was further down the road. So there, in addition to being the devices that would be reflective on this slide, there was, like I said, the classroom technology. So it's the height adjustable mounts for the IFPs, classroom sound systems, all of the classroom technology. It's a general refresh on that. That stuff has like a 8 to 10 year lifespan on it. So.
And right now, we have 15 million total earmarked, correct? Like across the whole district.
for technology?
Technology, and so what I'm hearing is, we took out those devices and just did a flat 2 million at each building.
I did it's 2 million aggregate, so at the elementary schools, and again, we can share this, and I think it sounds like it's gonna change from here, but at the elementary schools, because it's a unknown technology, we just kind of took a stab at a number to kind of basically put a $2 billion overall mark in there. So I did it by putting $175,000 into each elementary school, $350,000 into your intermediate and middle school, and then $550,000 at the high school, and then also $50,000 for the bridge program here at this building as well. Some of that's, like I said, it's basically kind of like a swag number, just based on the size of the buildings and what they would be doing in those grade levels. Just trying to make a best guess.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we were discussing it. Is there any concerns with it? Spencer? Spencer, again, it's about classrooms, and making space. We did use the same theory, if you will. Take that media center, which is kind of a half gym, half lunchroom, half whatever, and push the gymnasium part outside, giving us more space inside to create the extra classrooms and needed space. Just for a general synopsis. It's all in. Does everybody have this one that I'm scrolling through?
No, we just have the lights, we have the list.
You just have the
We have the price list.
Well, then I guess I'm glad I'm doing this because you're not looking at it.
I have a question about Spencer. The exterior toilet rooms. My question, sorry, I'm thinking about Horning. Never mind, wrong elementary. Scratch that. No question.
All right. Cost there, $13,956. Moving on to Horning Elementary. This one?
Yeah.
Again, this is, we're creating a safe vestibule, we're moving things around so that we can create classrooms, serve special needs, et cetera, and move the gymnasium outside. You had a question about why we're putting restrooms up?
I have a question about that because my understanding was potentially those fields are getting moved. And so I guess I would ask that all of this is under development. I know these are what we intend to do. It doesn't necessarily mean that every single one of these line items gets completed once construction starts. But I guess I would assume that if we don't have a field there, and right now, right where that gym will be, it's one baseball field. To me, if we were gonna put exterior restrooms in, they'd be on the other side of that where, closer to the indoor practice facility where everyone's practicing behind there, because I don't see coaches sending their kids from, all the way down there across the field to the other side of Horning to go to the bathroom. So that's why, I'm just asking what the thinking was behind
Yeah, it was added in as a project that was done at all the elementary schools that were putting in gymnasiums. And it was discussed that they all have these practice fields, so it would be nice to have access to real toilets instead of porta potties. And so it was put in for that rationale. I agree with you. I think it would be better down by the field house, but that construction portion has already taken place, so the next best option was up there. If we can add it on somewhere else, or obviously not do it if we move the fields, I don't think we want to move the fields.
No, I'm not,
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, I would prefer not to do that, but I know
Right.
that has been under discussion as well, too. So
Yeah.
if the field goes away, then it really doesn't make sense to
Yeah.
me
I don't see
to
that.
put
Right.
restrooms on an exterior where no one's gonna be practicing.
Yeah. I mean, we can ask about moving them down to the field house and putting them off of there. I don't know what that would cost, with the gym already being built, if it's
I
easier.
want to just let me interject, because we always think about this, like, if this is on here, that's it. It's
Right.
going to happen. And we all know that in the next couple of months, even if we approve this tonight, we go out and start telling everybody about it, as we go along over the next 4, 5, 6 years that this is probably going to take to complete, we might change our mind about those bathrooms.
Absolutely.
And that's okay. We'll use the money to do whatever else we thought.
Okay,
So,
fair enough.
we don't normally, at this stage, have this kind of detail, thanks to you guys for doing that for us. Because I'm a visual person and they help me a lot by superimposing it over the top of some of the existing, I need that. But, I also know that, on every one of these buildings, we think this is it, but this isn't what we're going out for the permit on. We're gonna get to it and we're gonna go, okay, is there any other changes we need to make? What else is
Sure.
going on now? Maybe you need those bathrooms now for a different reason,
Right.
or we don't, and let's use that money to do something else in the building. So we'll have those opportunities. We don't have to have every P's and Q's all together, because, it will change with time and it ebbs and flows. As long as we do what we say we do, which is basically creating space for these classrooms and moving something to do that, if we put a bathroom in or not, we're not gonna get scolded by anybody if we change that and change it to something else in the project, as long as it goes onto that project.
Okay.
Okay?
Wait,
So
thank you.
I just wanted that, I know that we can get into this like this, because we feel this is us and we're designing this whole thing and this is what we want. It's just like building your home. You get into it the same way.
It is, I just want to
Yeah.
be very conscious of where we're
Yeah,
spending money.
absolutely.
So when
Just-
we're looking at line items that are $150,000, $300,000, $800,000,
Yeah.
while I agree with you, it does add up to a total amount.
Yes,
So when we get to
absolutely.
that total, I just want to feel confident that we're, generally moving in the right direction, and we don't have too many things in there that we're not actually going to end up
Right.
doing.
And honestly, something like that, if that didn't pan out, we didn't use that money precisely for that, maybe we use it for some of the technology
Right.
that comes about in that building later. As long as it gets used there, and it's being used for kids and education and whatnot, nobody's gonna have a problem with it.
Yeah.
So just, I do the same thing. I battle with Katie about a couple things, then I'm like, wait a minute, this is stupid, because this could all change. We might not even be on this board anymore by the time we get to that part. And it's true. I mean, I missed 2 years, and a couple things happened that I didn't know was gonna happen, because it wasn't gonna happen, but it's pretty cool. So, anyways, it's gonna happen. And we don't have to look at this as the final Bible. There's gonna be more versions of this Bible as we go along, and we'll deal with it as we go. Okay?
I'd also like to point out the cost here at Horning is higher than the other elementaries because there's about 12 million in traffic site improvements. So I'm sure you guys all know that, but it should be split probably with Maltby, but you can't really do that. So it's all funneled under, well, not all. Most of it is funneled under Horning, and then we have another slide to discuss that too. So that's it.
And then we did have, in mine, I had a little multi-traffic takeoff. Multi. This one's really simple. They didn't have an awful lot of requests there. It's all part of the same traffic problem, so it will be part of that. But their questions were about lighting, translucent lighting, to kind of brighten things up, new carpet in classrooms. They wanted new gymnasium bleachers. They were pretty simple, and we've done some updates otherwise and whatnot for them, but is there any questions about this one? I think it was one of those simpler.
In the classrooms too. Some of the classrooms that were missed in the last bond.
Within the security lockout, band storage, that kind of stuff. And AC repairs. Moving on to Scranton. Scranton, we're doing some larger items, nothing super huge, but larger items. We're looking at the orchestra rehearsal area, scene shop, and those kinds of things. Security lockout, fence replacement, parking lot extensions, a lot of electrical upgrades there. Questions on that one? It's actually one of the lower numbers.
Right, I know, it's a lot, so it's hard for me to read all of that, but when you talk about.
What's up there is.
I know, and I can't read that either.
Oh, no.
On the parking lot extensions, does this include the off of the road stuff, or?
Yes, it does. That is.
All right, and then, the one that has had more discussion in our meetings than anything, between me and Katie. So the Brighton High School, we put in a couple options. We're using this as an option one. It's basically a pricing thing, and there's a couple things that we discussed in this that were issues. And Katie and I don't necessarily 100% agree on this one, but I'm gonna say this right now, I don't care what we do, if the board says go for this, I'm selling it. That's the way I'm gonna sell it. So don't think, I have personal opinions, but that doesn't mean they're the end all be all. I wanted to answer the questions and the asks and get that done, but I didn't want to put a price tag on this thing that puts us way over and also moves across the building the entire way. So the first one, and this one here is actually, option one is something that came out of, let's make a compromise on it, let's call it that. And I think it's a great one, because you see we're still doing band and support, we're doing media and commons in this one. It's a great idea. It stays away from the loading dock area, which is an issue. And I talk about legacy debt. If we encroach upon the area where we're keeping the snow right now, that becomes an extra $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 every time it snows, having to move snow around, because they can't just push it with a plow. They're gonna need to see, and this discussion kind of takes place in all the options. It's all inclusive of all the options. So the drive, you can see the drive coming out over there in that picture. You guys don't have what I have in front of me, and I keep forgetting that. So the drive is the loading dock over there, okay? And in some of the options, it's gonna approach across that, which creates a gate situation. But it also creates some space for kids to be outside playing in it. It's got its positives and its negatives. But it also would, one of the other ones is gonna approach upon the area where we push our snow right now off of the parking lot over in front of the swimming pool. And that's a strong one for me, because I look at it like, it's no sweat off my back. It's money off of us every year. Every time we have to push that snow to a different location, they'll push it to the parking areas right in front of the BCPA, come back during the week after the rush of the snowstorm is done, move it at a cost, and that becomes a cost that every time it snows, that's gonna be something we're gonna deal with. I don't like to create that kind of thing, and it also creates more work for someone. That was one of my strongest things. That's the worst. That was really the biggest problem I had with the one that would approach all the way across. But here in this one, and Katie, I'm gonna let you now talk more about what this is exactly, if you don't mind.
Well,
Can we go back to option
oh,
one
we've
for a
already
second?
switched forward? Well, I'm not sure.
Can we go back to option one for a second?
Yeah.
So
There we go.
how many options are you presenting to us tonight?
Only
Three.
Three.
Okay. So this one is the one where we would take the existing media center, right? And move some of the music programs in there and then add on, okay. All right, so this is one that we've already seen.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to clarify.
Then option two,
We know the pros and the cons of that one, too.
Yeah.
Okay, so
option two, this is the one this is where I talked about it encroaches across to the front of the BCPA. And that brought up the issues for me with all of that space, and it's also a lot of new build, and it comes with a hefty price with that one as well. Okay?
And that's the plan that has like 30,000 square feet of additional area.
30.
Just 16,000, and then you'd be adding 30,000, so you'd be
Down the
getting
entire
14,000
music
extra.
as is, basically,
Yeah.
and then rebuilding.
And rebuilding all day.
And option 3? This is the one that I smile the hardest on, but it doesn't matter. Because it does all the things. We're using, I don't know if we have it in front of me. We're, instead of tearing down, or I should say, in previous plans, we'd have to tear down the existing band room, which creates a lot of problems in itself. We don't know if the foundation can then withhold putting a new, a higher roof in it. It's a problem it could come into. We don't know what's in the ground right there. It could be a bigger problem than what you might automatically think. So this one kind of encompasses using the existing band room, and we're using that for choir and orchestra, remodeling that.
Yeah,
And then putting the
orchestra.
higher building, the new part, outside of that area, right up against, you can see now you can still drive in along the side. It doesn't encroach upon the driveway at all. It uses that green space that's there and perhaps some of the sidewalk to create this area.
Pushes the drive out a little bit further.
A little bit.
Moves the parking spots.
But it doesn't affect that snow catch that I'm always so worried about. It encompasses all the things it's got new, it's got existing that's been remodeled, and it answers, gives us everything that we've been asked. So, I love this one for that. And it also comes with a price tag that I can swallow a little easier too. Yes, ma'am.
With this one, you said it gives everything that's been asked. Will it create a new facade that makes the front of the building look a little more modern?
Of course, on what is built, yes. And then we've discussed with possibly, it wouldn't take a lot to, what we did in the back of the building that tied everything together was put in some color that expanded through the old and the new and it tied it together. Those kind of things aren't as costly. We can still do that kind of stuff. We also talked about still getting a space in the front. That's one of Katie's wants, for like a congregational area for kids. And what were you calling it? Give me the name.
Student comments.
Student commons. Those kind of things, we will always, again, we discussed this earlier, we're going to have extra money. We're going to need to allocate it for things, and I'd like to say those kind of things could come from that. That's my opinion. Because it's not a need, it's a really cool want, and I'm about cool wants. And I think tying that together and making it look like the front of the building is the front and the back isn't the front anymore. Right now, that's kind of what we got. The back looks better than the front. It'd be nice to bring that facade, but that can be done a lot less expensively than building a large area that spans the front. So we don't have an absolute answer for how we're going to do that, but we know that we're going to have some contingency money in there that we can play around.
And this is about 8,000 additional square feet? That's this option 3?
Correct. Does that sound right, Katie?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, renovates about 11,000 square feet of the existing music spaces.
And then adds 8,000
It's 8,000.
of additional, so it's like 19,000 square feet of impacted
Yeah.
new space.
One of the things that I think I like about option 3, like logistically from teaching your kids while construction is going on, is if we eliminate that entire music wing. I'm sure it's doable, but I think it would be complicated. I don't know how they would teach all of those classes during that period where this is a little less impactful. Maybe we can move people around a little bit better at the building. Again, I'm sure they would figure it out one way or the other, and this is not the only reason, but I do think it's a data point.
It's phasing, like maybe doing some of the new build and opening it up temporarily for use or something like that. But you still have to meet the code and make it safe and everything. But the other thing is we do have spaces in the building. We know that, we call it the green mold area, that we want to clean up and make better. That would offer some. We have a media center that could be scheduled, maybe we have to do that for a little bit. There's no way to do this overnight.
No.
So whatever we do, it's gonna be a season, basically, probably. And we're going, and those are you can't do much about that. It's like if a tree falls in your house and it's gotta be repaired, you're usually living in a hotel down the road somewhere. It's that kind of a situation, but we're just gonna keep in the same building. We're gonna have to create a space while we're building the new stuff. We do it all the time.
My inclining on this, I understand how option 3 is the easy option. But there's a couple reservations for me is that, again, it doesn't really create that kind of new look to the high school. And the other is that I don't feel like we're giving the arts as much investment as we probably should, and especially compared to what we've done for athletics over the last 2 bonds. But, and I worry that we don't have any, you said you have a lot of cool wants. I don't feel like we have anything really cool to sell. Everything is just some repairs and there's no like natural constituency that's gonna go out and say, fight, 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 we need this.
Let me answer, I have opinions on things. You want my opinion on a couple of things? So, first off, the cost needs to, in my opinion, cost needs to be associated with the amount of kids that it's affecting. I love programs that we have over there. My daughter was very involved in it, and I built things in the back room for these things. But I also realized, because we often, that example you just gave where, well, we've done this for sports, we've done this for sports, and now why aren't we doing, something equal here? We are, but if you look at the percentage, it's about 8 to 10% of the kids in the high school that are using this area. And to say that we have, what is it, 47, 50% of the kids that are using some form of a sports program or a building in the school district, we can't not.
Just a second.
We can't not talk that way.
8% of the kids in the high school, but then
If
50%
I
in
take-
the district.
No,
I think-
I'm just speaking high school, because it's the high school bill.
Okay, but you said
Throughout the
district
district, we're
on
doing
50%.
other things in other
I
buildings.
know, you
Right.
said district, so I just want to be clear.
I'm sorry, I apologize. It's all about the words you use.
So we have 50% of our high
So-
school kids in athletics?
That go through the program, either through elementary, middle school, or high school, yeah.
Likely
I
higher.
don't want to talk about elementary, middle,
Yeah.
because if you talk about elementary, middle school,
Just
and
high school, I don't know that
you've
number
got to
specifically.
talk about every band program, every orchestra program.
Agreed.
The Hilton Musical Theater has 100 kids. I mean, it's much higher than that 8%.
No, throughout the district, absolutely, it certainly is. And if you're clumping all things musical and art, then yeah, that number is bigger. But we are doing things for them. We're not doing those things. We are making upgrades and changes for them. I just want everyone, and you don't have to base it on what I believe. I just feel I need to say it. I think the reason sports gets big things and a lot more money is because there's an awful lot more people that use those buildings. We've done this before on bond stuff. We've said, what are the numbers, and we're gonna put a number per kid, and that's what we're gonna spend on it. It would never come close to that first option that we were talking about, but we encompassed more than the arts in that too. So that's not a real fair and great depiction of it. That was media center and all kinds of things going on in that one. So that price is elevated. But I still believe that we're doing very comparable changes here. And it does, option 1, 2, or 3, again, I said, I'd support anything that the board wants to. But I'm just trying to keep it economical, and I'm trying to, in a time where, let's not pretend that we are not aware that there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world right now. Every once in a while that happens, it goes in cycles. And right now, people are worried about food, money, and health. You have to be. It's just, even if it's not a real thing in their life right now, they're hearing it on the news all the time. It's always on the news. So I don't want to scare people thinking, oh my God, they're putting all this money into this stuff and I'm worried about this. To have that crown jewel thing kind of would be an Anna, we're doing this, in my opinion. I like the idea of we're taking care of our old stuff. We're making it better and using it better. I do the same thing. I like remodeling a home instead of tearing it down and starting all over again. Done it most of my career. So my opinion is during these times, you have to be mindful of what your constituents are facing and feeling. And I don't want them to think that we're just blowing a bunch of money to make everything look great and build it up for somebody. I want them to know that we're fixing it and making it so that they can do exactly what they need to do and keeping in mind how much it costs. So in my opinion, I like the smaller one. I like the smaller price. I think it does an awful lot. Maybe it's a combination of the three. I'm not saying it has to be 1, 2, or 3. I'm not here to make the decision for the board. I want to do the best we can for every organization in the school, but I want to be mindful of the people that are going to say yes or no.
Can I finish my
Absolutely.
couple questions there?
Yeah.
One, the other thing is I think the media center is a very large waste of space currently. A large waste of space. It is a large space for what it's used for. And I would like to see it used better. And if we're not going to utilize it and build a new media center that looks modern and feels modern, then we should at least remodel it. And then the last thing I want to say is that I'm personally tired of hearing well, there's not enough kids for that. We'll never do anything for these kids in the margins then, if we have to have numbers of kids. Like, at some point, every kid deserves some things, and I'm just not gonna go with well, this affects this many kids, so we're just never gonna touch these kids over here. So I don't personally love that we have more kids in this and more kids in that. Then we're gonna end up being an IMG Sports Academy, you know, if that's what it is.
Is that
because
the
there's
Andrews
more
building?
kids in it.
I have no idea. I don't know what that.
And I just want to add something to what Mr. Bain was saying. This idea that we're talking about, that we want to be really cautious of how we're spending the money, we weren't talking about this with any of the other buildings. We were saying, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to do in the building. But now when we're getting to the arts, we're like, oh, we have to be careful because people are going to be concerned with how we're
Well,
spending money.
Andy, if that's what I portrayed, I apologize, because that's not how I feel about it. In the other buildings, we're not.
We're
The
spending
other buildings,
$11,000
we're
on,
making classroom spaces and moving things around for that.
how many
We just
people are going to
haven't-
be
we just
impacted by
haven't-
by one classroom? How many students are going to be impacted by these single 2 or 3 classrooms? It's not going to be a lot of students, but we're still spending a lot of money on these. And I think I'll agree with what you're saying. If we say we've only got this many kids, when my kids were in the programs, they were much, much bigger. You know, there's lots of reasons for it decreasing. We know that something about COVID. We know that the band is kind of is sharing students with orchestra. Students have more choices. Students have more choices for classes, and there's lots of things that are impacting them. But when we start saying that we don't have a lot of kids, so we're not going to spend as much money, that's really not fair. That's not fair to some of these kids.
I just like to push back a little bit on that. I don't feel like we're not meeting the needs. I think we're talking about building a new orchestra space and temperature-controlled storage at Scranton, which is what they asked for from that standpoint. And from my takeaways early on, when we were first talking about this, we heard we need an improved band space because the existing room is not conducive for good teaching, and we have some acoustic issues. So we need to fix that. An orchestra needs dedicated space as well as temperature-controlled storage. So when I see this, to me, it feels like we're meeting what those needs were, and we're also making use of the space that we already have in the building to the extent that we can. I don't think this is shortchanging the music program. I'm not interested in doing that. I don't feel like that's what it does. So I think we're satisfying the requests that came to us and the primary needs that were identified from the beginning. I like option 3.
We're spending $17,000 to change a parking pattern. $1 million, sorry. You know, to change a parking.
$17,000.
Yeah, sorry. To change a parking pattern, which again is a need, but it's also like, all right, that's a extravagant amount of money for the number of kids that is in that building at any one time. But if you want to talk about over time, because lots of kids will move through those buildings over time, lots of kids will move through the
that
music.
intermediate school building, whether they want to or not.
Lots of kids will move through their music program over time too.
Well,
And I just,
1,500 students are going to be impacted, and their families are going to be impacted by improvements to the traffic at Maltby and Horning. I mean, that's a 30% of our entire district. I mean, that's a major safety issue. To me, I don't know, this isn't a comparison of, we're going to spend this much money to fix safety at Horning and Maltby, or we're going to spend this. I mean, you could look at, we spent how much building the STEAM Center. I mean, it's clear among everyone that, as I've heard, everyone is committed to making a major investment in the performing, you know, in the band and choir and orchestra. I mean, all of these options are at least $13+ million, right? I don't think we need to be looking at, well, we spent X of dollars per athlete, and how does that translate and compare? No, we need to look at what do we need to do to make the improvements that give the students, whether there's 100, 200, 500 in band, orchestra, and choir, what can we do that gives them the space and the accommodations that they deserve? Now, to me, it's more of a function of, we've got three options, right? Does, you know, in terms of looking at what they need, does the $13 million option give them everything that they need in the layout that has been provided that avoids some of the other negative effects that would come from the other options, like impacting snow removal? And conversely, if we are comparing that to like option 2, what are those groups gaining by potentially adding $15 million to the construction costs that they're not going to get in the $13 million option? To me, that's really we're going to do this. It's a question of what is the best bang for the buck for those students, right? And if we're going to look at a $13 million versus a $29 million, then I want to know what they're getting out of that additional $16 million, right? I mean, that's to me the most important analysis. Because if it's not that much, then, you know, to me, and obviously we've talked about there's the potential for contingency, you know, down the road. I mean, I don't know when, you know, this, whatever option, if it's approved by the voters, this may not be constructed until 2030. I mean, you know, I don't know what the schedule is going to look like. And so at that point in time, if our numbers in band are 250 again, as they were, you know, a few years ago, you know, things are cyclical. Okay, well, maybe maybe even this design gets tweaked. The money's allocated there, but it can be potentially tweaked if at that point in time there's you know, better information as far as the needs of any one group vis-a-vis the other, or all of them collectively. So, I mean, to me, that's I think the important thing from my perspective as to deciding which of these options we should potentially go with.
What are the downsides of option 1? I mean, we've gone through the downsides of option 2, but what are the downsides of option 1?
Katie, you're more live about that. Go for it.
Okay, so option 1, it was conveyed that the.
Right.
No, option 1.
Option 1, I'm sorry. You're right. Gotcha.
So there was concerns about sound, right? So having orchestra and choir being moved to the middle of the building and displacing the media center up front, sharing a wall with band, they were concerned about noise there. And then also the media commons being used as an event space, having food and drink in there, worried about protecting, you know, the equipment that we have invested in, those kinds of things. I think we can work through some of those options, but when you look at some of the others, that's a lot of work to put in for not a lot of gain, I guess.
One thing I think also that was mentioned was ideally, I think that the programs would like to remain together if they can.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think that's a deal breaker, but that's what I heard, that their preference would be that they're near each other versus separated within the building.
Yep. And they like the media center in the center of the building so that it's more easily accessible for students.
The administration wants that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I keep hearing administration wants. Can somebody clarify, like, who is administration that wants this, and who are they
The ones
communicating
running
to?
the high school.
Well, no, so as far as the media center, I mean, you received directly, you had communication from the media specialist. I know that, yeah, you had somebody from the media department. I know that the high school administration sees value in the media center in its current location. And I don't mean to put words in your mouth, Mr. Evans, but you know, it's in the middle of the building. It is a hub of the school. I think you feel good about where it's at. That's all I was sharing. Mr. Evans, did you want to share anything else on that?
I think the biggest thing is just, you know, kind of from our perception, there's a belief that the media center is kind of used for simply checking out books and sort of a hangout spot for students, but it really is an instructional space that gets, you know, a large amount of use. If you were to go and look and see how frequently that space is signed out by teachers, our media specialists are putting on presentations for students as well to supplement some of the things that are going on in the classroom, technology pieces in addition to
and again, I personally don't think the way this is presented, with, especially with option 3, is there's enough to have any one group actually fight for the bond.
Well, how does that compare to option 1 then? What's the difference?
I mean, I personally would give them the black box theater because I think it would get a group really energized. They could help energize other groups. I don't see anything, when we did the other bonds, there were groups, right, that were getting things. And when I put together the coalition of who's gonna fight for the bond, I can't come up with any natural constituents, coalitions. I don't see youth athletics. I don't see the arts. I don't see the high school athletics. I don't see the robotics, the STEAM. I just don't see, there's nothing exciting for any groups to say, let's go fight for this.
And I go back to my fundamental question, how is option 1 versus option 3 move the needle on excitement from a voter perspective?
I would give them the black box theater to do that.
But that's not part of the conversation. I mean, the black box, as I understand, was previously discussed in the context of the like the BCPA. I mean, this focal point was on how do we improve the space for band, orchestra, and choir, right? I mean, that was my understanding. I think that's a totally different issue.
I guess I thought it wasn't completely off the table. I know Dr. Otla and I talked about it a little bit earlier today. Like, I mean, if we're looking for pizzazz, that's what I would give them. But also, I think option 1 creates a new facade that energizes people.
So I guess did I hear somebody say that either the music department, or whether it's the choir or the orchestra or the band, they're not excited about option 1 separating those groups? Did somebody say that?
That was feedback that we received, that they would prefer to stay together. They like to be near each other in the building.
One area of the building.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think option 3 does that, and that's kind of nice. However, what that doesn't have is that doesn't have the black box. And I think that would be the part that's missing. I do like the way that's keeping it together, and I understand how that's gonna facilitate snow removal and that, but how could we connect, if it could connect somehow to the BCPA to have this additional area, I guess would be what I would wonder, how, if there's any way we could do that, so that this would take care of the classrooms, but how could we add that black box area and with that option?
Well, this was just supposed to give you 3 options. And I said at the beginning, I'd like to go run with this thing. We're not gonna do that, obviously, that's fine. That's what this conversation is about. We're gonna wanna get to work on this so that, what was our other date?
January 20th.
The 20th?
January 20th.
By the 20th, we need to do this.
So we were given option 1 and option 2, and then this option 3 is a new one that just, I mean, so there's other things that can happen. It's not like these are the only options. The question
And let me
is,
go back to what I said before. We're trying to paint this picture and have everything in it before we say yes.
and what we need
And
to
really,
know.
what we need is allocate funds
That's it.
and move forward and then keep designing.
That's it.
Because
That's it.
there's, so, we've got to figure out how to make that work. The weird thing that's there, I think the thing that makes it the hardest is the fact that the cafeteria is tucked in behind it.
I know.
And putting something across it scares some people, it makes people happy. I just think it makes it difficult. So, we still got plenty of time to tweak it. I didn't mean to make this, I gave you my opinions of why I like certain things. But again, I've done this with the board on many things, including back in COVID time. You tell me, if the board comes to a consensus on something, I'm gonna support it 100%, and that's what I'm gonna build. So,
Related to the, conversation and comments around pizzazz versus just vanilla mundane, one of the things that I brought up very regularly at the board table and probably 2 facility meetings before the board meeting, already came in with some of the recommendations was the money that we have in our capital account. And I wanted to let people talk before I mention this, so it just doesn't, I don't start with
Well, but I think the question becomes not necessarily whether that will inspire people to come out and vote. It's that if the bond doesn't pass, then, and we're only left with $6 million, then how do we, what is the biggest priority on how we spend that money? So like, the chiller is probably, from an infrastructure standpoint, the number one item, right? That's what, 2 million? It's gonna be probably at least 2 million? Just, yeah. Anyway, and so it's not so much that an item that we might address would, if it's not on the bond, would inspire them to come out. It's that if the bond doesn't pass, we need to really make sure we prioritize the use of those funds. On the other hand, if the bond does pass, then we might be able to use those funds, and we might decide to use those funds in a different manner. You know, on a more, you know, on an expedited basis, or we might use those funds for more luxury items because now we know that some of the more critical things are going to be addressed in the bond. That's really, from my perspective, Andy, why the timing of those two are so important together. So.
I hear you. I like the way you said it about, you know, the critical absoluteness. If the bond doesn't pass, you would identify those critical must needs versus wants.
Right.
Why wouldn't we be able to do that today as a board? Say these are absolute must need requirements, and if the public approves a $150 million bond, whether we spend that $6 million today or we don't spend that $6 million tomorrow, the $6 million is still getting spent, and we as a board are determining that $6 million isn't just for a wish list, it's for must need, must do critical items for this district.
Well, I can tell you that, to that point, I was gonna talk about it at the committee portion of our, committee report portion of our agenda, but one of the things that we did do in the finance committee meeting last week was we agreed to direct the administration to move forward with getting the ball rolling from designing what will be needed for the new chiller. Because one way or another, whether the bond passes or the bond doesn't pass, that chiller is #1 priority. And in order for us to potentially be able to install that in the summer of '27, we needed to get that ball rolling. So we've already got that ball rolling on that, and that's a good example of that. Which then, if the bond doesn't pass, now $2 million is going to come out of that, you know, that fund. So I hear you. I agree with you, and so we have taken a step, at least with regard to that issue. I don't have a problem having further discussion, you know, on if there's other things. That's been the one that's always been identified as of the most critical, time sensitivity. So we did do that, and your point's well taken on that point.
Are there any strong feelings that either way from other members of the board, specific to the $6.5 million?
I mean, I agree. I think the chiller, probably the roof, I think it won't be. Air conditioning in the gym, those are things that are gonna happen one way or another. The one thing is, if it is paid for with bond money, the capital project money is a little looser.
Right.
You could actually spend it on, say, furnishings or something else for that, where you couldn't spend bond money on that. So it does, the capital improvement fund is a little more flexible than the bond money. So it gives us a little bit more flexibility, but I think there's a few other projects, and we talked about them in the finance committee too, that we should start moving the ball forward. So as soon as if the bond is passed, we move forward with it quickly. If the bond isn't passed, we're gonna do it anyway. But I think the chiller, and there's probably a few others we can actually move forward with, one way or another. It would be great on some of it if we could pay for it out of bond money, just because then it gives the flexibility to do things that can't be paid for out of bond money with the capital projects.
So, I think we've talked this one to death right now, and that's okay.
Can
Oh,
I
go
give my
ahead.
sentiments?
Absolutely.
Sorry. I told you I'd behave. I just wanted to kind of give you guys some of my sentiments on this for next time. I wanted to thank King Scott, Mr. Pollard. Thank you for all your work. You guys have seen 3 options, but we've probably had 10
Yeah.
to look at, and you guys have been very creative. And the Clark team, thank you guys for getting numbers back to us so fast so that we can make better decisions on, what we're going to do for the district. This was very tough for me. I got told multiple times, don't make it personal. Because I looked and you get excited about certain things and you see what could be for your district. And so there's a really big balance between being fiscally responsible and meeting the needs of the district. And so, option 3 makes sense, but I don't love the way it looks. It looks like you just want to cut that corner off. And I know that that's not the most important thing, but I'm wondering if we can maybe come to an agreement on allocating funds, but then reworking some of that so it maybe fits a little better. I loved option 2 from that regard. I know some people thought it maybe looked more like a prison yard, but I thought aesthetically, you kept all music together. You had a great space for the students, indoor and out, and then it really just kind of made the whole building come together again. So I realize that's not the most important thing.
Can I?
Yep, you can.
The thing that, that's getting missed in this discussion, and it needs to be heard, is we have to decide what we're comfortable asking the community for. The total way. And if we have that answers these questions. I mean, it's about the dollar. And, it's easy when it's your house because you know how much you have and you know how much you're willing to put into debt and pay interest on. But we're doing this for the community, so it comes a little harder for me sometimes. So and as long as I've been on the board, we've fixed our old stuff and made it better. We haven't done a lot of things. The STEAM Center was the big bang. The athletic stuff was the athletic stuff. That was bond 1. And we had a football field that was, mud and all that kind of stuff, so that was an easy sell. It's what are we comfortable asking the community for? And I don't pretend to know what that number is. And that's why we're a board of 7. We can all come up with that number and then go, okay, if we're going to do that, then we can do option 1, or we can do option 2, or we can do a combo of 2 and 3, or it doesn't have to be, again, decided tonight exactly what it's going to look like. Really, the more important part is how much are we willing to ask for?
The good news is we actually did ask the community that.
We did,
And
we
they
got
came
responses back.
It came back that it actually doesn't impact the bond. The yes or no, the higher we go. And I think Katie presented that it's about a difference of $8 a household to go to the higher amount.
But it's a legacy debt that you'll pay over a lot more years. So their taxes don't come down as fast.
$8 a year over 30 years is still pretty negligible. And to give us a pizzazz item in some world-class, performance center to be the destination district for these performing arts and to make our high school look less tired and old, I think it's worth it. And again, we polled on it, and it actually, the more we spent, the better it got.
Okay. What's the number?
Well,
Do you want to?
can we finish talking about, we're just gonna throw out a number tonight? Is that what you're looking
No,
for?
I don't think we even have to do that. Coming up with a number at a meeting at, 9:15 at night is kind of arduous task to ask. But, again, I had another option. And it was in the back of the building. I mean, I could come up with 20 more. They probably don't want to hear that. But, none of these are the answer, is what I'm getting at. And again, if we can come up with a number that we're comfortable with, if it's the 27, or if it's the 14, or if it's the, what's the other one? The 13, we come up with a number and we can do multiple parts of this. You know what I'm saying? Again, once we decide we're gonna spend that money, we haven't said exactly what we're gonna do, but we know we're gonna spend it on this, and this. We don't have to have that to start getting the word out. We need to have it in the next, before we start putting pictures out and telling everybody exactly what we're doing in the buildings. But we don't need that to get the ball rolling. Because the thing is, part of it too is if we don't start talking about it and start getting that information out, that's not gonna be good for us to get it passed either. Because it takes a long time to get everybody to understand what we're doing here. Most people, election day, they're like, wait a minute, they're doing what? And that's a true thing, it happens. It doesn't matter how many times you talk to people, they don't really realize it's happening until election day comes along. So the bigger picture here is, are we gonna start educating the district as to what we wanna do and figure this nut out? By maybe the 20th, we can do that. But in the meantime, I would certainly like to get the steering chair acclimated, get her starting, bank account for whatever we're gonna call this, the Brighton bond, or the, I called the last one, yes for BAS, whatever we wanna call it, and get that ball rolling, because we need to start getting the news out. And we still have time to come up with this by the 20th, and time to talk about it. But I think what we really need to think, what is the number we're comfortable with as a board, and we'll build whatever we can with that.
So,
I'm not opposed to any of these.
so the spreadsheet that we got, that we received tonight, has $152 million.
Right.
Yes.
Which option does that
That is
include?
option 3, so
Okay.
Design X is
Just
what
for
it's
throwing
called.
Okay.
That's $20 million for music and arts. Correct.
And when you think of that 20 million, think of the 20 million in the context of the dollars that are appropriated for the option physical brick and mortar versus the 17% that's currently in that 152 that does not turn into brick and mortar. That pays architects and consultants, general contractors. So when you hear that number, don't think of it as a percentage of 152. Take all the fees out and then think of it in the context of that number, because that's the true percentage of the real spend going to the building.
Right, that will be true of all the projects,
Correct.
though, right?
Correct.
Every one of them.
Correct. If you think of it in the context of 152, it seems a lot smaller. If you take $20 million from 152 and then think of that spend, it's a different, usually a little different perspective.
It's really only 15 million then, without the architect fees and construction, yeah.
I mean, I would prefer to see a black box theater personally, but I definitely would prefer to see a new entrance with some common space to make the high school look less old and less tired and a little more modern.
But you could even, if you went with option 3, you could even still say, just from a budgeting standpoint, we're going to add to this, I mean, I don't know what a number is for, basic renovation, upgrades, like what, I mean, on a per square foot area, is it $50 a square foot, $100 a square foot? I mean, what's a rule of thumb if you're?
550, isn't it?
550.
Yeah.
We were around 500.
I'm not talking about, I'm just like if you were gonna upgrade the media center, if it wasn't gonna, any of the musical groups were moving into the media center, and to your point, Alicia, that if that's gonna stay a media center, we wanna upgrade it, right? So we don't have anything built in here for that, but if we said that area is, how big's that area? 8,000 square feet? Is it that big?
It was a gymnasium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got it for 7,000.
Yeah, so if you say 8,000 square feet times
Yes.
whatever that, even if you say $500 dollars a square foot.
We're just renovating that space now.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought, I mean, just, right. But you could, my point is that we don't even need any drawings of what that's gonna look like. We can just say we're going to invest, if the media center is gonna stay there, we're gonna upgrade it. We're gonna, give it some new life. It's overdue for an upgrade, and that's something that we can that can be added in without really much additional work. I mean, I think there's ways that we can still build that into the equation to do some of those improvements at the high school that have not been addressed in any of the previous, 2 bonds, like the media center.
If I can add, we did have a smaller reduced contingency or amount we carry for updating the existing facade. We reduced that when we proposed last time, this 152 did have about 200,000 to update that existing facade. We weren't doing any costs or inventory or commentary, we were going to update that for
And Brendan, not to put you on the spot, but you had mentioned you might suggest something with some windows and things like that.
Yeah. We have a north-facing wall, we can get some really good natural lighting.
I just think the $8 a household is worth going up to the 200,000, or, gosh, I can't,
Right.
thousands, millions, 200 million.
Yeah, same thing. Well, we add technology, that'll add up to the 152. If we add for renovations to the, like things like the media center, I'm open to, we've got these three options. I'm open to, trying to give the band and the choir and the orchestra what something that they'll be excited about, right? I know that there's a lot of different variables in each of these options, but if 13 million will do that and that's the best option, great. If it's 25 million and that 25 million is going to be significantly greater than the 13 for X, Y, and Z reasons, and it doesn't come with detrimental effects like impacting snow removal, and those are just all things we have to take into consideration. That's all I'm saying, and I'm all for supporting them. I think we owe it to them, just like we owe it to every student group. I think we do.
Yeah. There's not an individual student
No.
that we don't think is undeserving of it. We're just trying to figure out what's the best way to fund it.
All right, so
$27 million is an astronomical amount.
yeah.
Astronomical amount.
Sorry.
I think, just to be clear, because you're comparing, what you're comparing right now, that $27 million, almost all of that delta is not going to our commons and facades. So
Yeah.
you're not saying, it's not spending $27 million on arts versus whatever.
No, that was
all
the,
all that
that was
delta.
the full package of everything.
Right,
Yeah.
so because it kind of sounds like you're talking about, are we spending 27 or 13 million on arts, but you're either spending, the 1 and 3 are your arts costs, and then that option 2 is really
What
the
it-
facade,
you know what?
the commons area, and the,
From your hip, what is the amount if you just take out, you don't have to get it exactly right. What, if we didn't do the media type area in front and everything, we just did that long box at the end, that's all encompass of music and the arts,
we have
What?
roughly about 20.
about 20.
As part of that.
So it gets rid of about $7.5 million.
Part of that is reworking that loading dock again, we're adding
Yep.
canopies in to provide access from the existing corridor to that other side of the building without having to walk outside, fully outside. And then we are adding plazas and courtyards outside within that kind of new service courtyard, so there's a lot going on.
There's a lot of
There's a
storage
lot
rooms and
going on
things too in that,
outside.
yeah.
Outside building use spaces and intimate building use spaces that time.
Yeah. There you go, that's $7.5 million right there, that, yeah. It's a full package, it's not just the music, so, it's so easy to just talk about, because that is, to me, that's the music area.
Yes, so part of that is in that loading dock, we got a main gas line coming in, we
Yeah.
got a main electric line coming in. So that would all have to be moved, relocated for some of that addition. Not to mention that we have semi trucks and deliveries coming in every day. We got food service going in and out of there every day. That's gated, that's.
And any turn you put in it, that makes it tough for the truckers, so,
Why would it need to be gated? Does it have to be gated?
well, it was just in the design at the one time.
And enclosed?
It doesn't necessarily have to be a gate, just some kind of a perceived barrier that this is student area, that's public area.
So I think with that option, that was probably the one that came with the most challenges, even though I liked it. But when you start adding all of those things up, it's a lot of money. But I do think, going forward, I just hope that we are very open in that discussion so that we can give that feedback to you guys, so you can come up with solutions, for those and really figure out costs for that. Because I think we kind of thought, oh, it's going to be X amount, but we didn't really have a lot of solutions, to discuss. So.
Yeah,
Right.
of course, no,
Yep,
right,
yep.
Always go through many iterations.
yeah.
Okay, so I think I can say this. I'm gonna get our steering chair and the committee going. Let her start getting things going. It gives us money, we're not gonna spend any money right away anyways. We need to get the ball rolling and get them thinking about ideas and who they wanna get together and have help. It takes a small city to sell one of these things too. Yeah,
I was just gonna
Dee-
say, do we,
Yeah, Dee, yeah,
And it's-
she's got it.
this isn't us doing that.
No.
Like, the board can't actually do it, because you said, I'm
Oh.
gonna get us going.
No,
just
I'm
wanna
gonna
make
tell
sure-
her, get going, but I'm also gonna walk her through it, because I've done it before.
But it is not the board, it is not the board
No.
spending money, it is not.
No.
Just making clear that.
The thing is, we can be part of this, though. We don't have to be hands off this whole thing. We can
We
be
as
part of getting the
individuals.
word out and everything. As a matter of fact,
Yeah, we
I
as
wouldn't mind talking in
individuals.
front of people about it, so.
We as individuals
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
The school cannot spend any
No.
money saying vote for or vote against.
Which is what that committee's gonna do, is raise some funds and to get the word out.
I also suggest, and the school could do this, but it might be better from the bond committee, is hiring a PR firm.
As a matter of fact, we've been looking at some things, yeah.
We already have PR through Clark, and we're, if the board approves and says we're going to move forward, we've got a great team, and we're ready to roll. King Scott, and our part is all factual in nature, and we're talking about some videos, all kinds of things, and we'll make sure that people get the facts, and advocacy committee wants to, talk, that's their business, but we're going to provide facts, and we're all going to work to educate the public as much as possible on, the pros and cons, so.
All right, so it,
As the board can advocate with your own resources, with your own time. So that you can advocate. But use your personal emails, not just email, things like that.
So I think the missing piece here, I think it sounds like there's a lot of consensus around everything. A number that you need for performing arts, I think is important. Like the design, it's coming later. And I think Ken keeps saying this. But I think Chad just mentioned that your, 13, 14 million is actually your performing arts, and the rest of it is more building, the rest of that?
It includes that whole common space and facades.
Right.
All that other gated area, all of that. That's
So-
different than the number.
So other than that number, and I'm just asking from the administration side, because we could start setting up some meetings to kind of finalize that package. Other than that number, are there other things that you're concerned about in this, in this document? Other things that need to be tweaked, or other things that you need more information on? What do you need from us, from the administration, so that you guys can push this across the goal
I'd
line?
like to see us move forward with some of the capital improvements that we have the money to appropriate, make changes to critical pieces of infrastructure in the district that need to be improved. This is not the first night I've shared that sentiment, for a long, long time, but I really feel that that's something that we owe to the district. We talk about students, we talk about stakeholders in our district. If the bond money gets approved, we have all the funds that we need to do whatever we feel as a board needs to happen in the district. If the funds do not get approved, we've already been proactive in addressing. I'm not pointing at Roger to suggest he's agreeing with me, I'm just saying, I thought he said it well. Critical, must do, must, get done type improvements, not nice to have or wants. These are critical heat, a boiler that heats the school. We should replace a boiler. We shouldn't wait for a bond to get approved to replace a boiler that needs to be replaced today.
And we did vote to do that, so we'll move forward with that.
Yeah, kind of.
I have a request, and I don't know if it happens here.
no, well, you'll have to be bid, and they'll have to come back for, yeah. I mean,
But we took the steps to.
right,
start
because we
doing
can't
that,
get
so
bids
it'll
until
come
we
to
start
the
doing
board.
it.
You as a board could vote to authorize Scott to move forward with the whole project. He
3 bids, so we should
All right.
at least have the bids.
Well, that happens. You and I both know, like, I'm very aware of the process.
Start the hour.
And what I'm saying is, it's a convenient way to communicate to the public that we're taking this, or we've kicked off the design. If we needed to replace the boiler, if the boiler failed tomorrow, Scott could find a way to get that boiler replaced very, very quickly, within days. Not weeks, not months, within days. I'm very confident of that. So, yes, we've kicked off the design. Yes, we have as a board have voted on it. Have we taken as immediate action as we could? Absolutely not. You know that, I know that, everybody on the board knows that.
Does this number include the kitchen?
Yes, it does.
That was actually one of what I was going to request. It's something that we consider, and I spoke with Ms. Tierney about this. Rather than calling it a central kitchen, can we change the phrasing on this to something along with improving facilities to enhance student nutrition? My concern is
It's on the
central
slide.
kitchen, perfect, can tie us to something, and we're not really sure what that's going to look like. So if we allocate the funds, then we could disperse it in different ways then, depending on what we discover as time goes on. That would make me more comfortable, so.
Ken and I talked about that too.
Sure. So
Oops, sorry.
beyond the dollar amount, you are going to have to agree to the ballot language, which is going to outline specific things you can do if you like. If you're thinking of building a central kitchen on another site somewhere that you own, that would be considered new construction, and we would have to have language in the ballot that would say new construction for, it wouldn't necessarily have to say for what, but currently we don't have any new buildings in the scope of work. So just for clarity, we have to either say we're going to do that or not do that. It could be an addition, it could be remodeling. I think it's remodeling, isn't it?
What happens if we say we're going to build a central kitchen and we discover that's not our best route? Do we lose those dollars?
You can put anything on the ballot and then not do it.
Right.
That's totally fine.
But we could not then take that money and make an addition to an existing building with it.
You could, because you would have, your ballot language is going to say additions to school buildings.
Okay.
You already have that, you've got gym additions and things like that, you've got music additions.
So that would
Everything
cover
we
that
talked about is
aspect of it. I
additions.
see, okay.
So that's not committing us to building this central kitchen building.
Correct.
It's giving us the option.
And I believe the transportation site, John, if I'm correct on this would be an addition onto the maintenance and transportation building, not a separate standalone, right?
We never really talked about how it was gonna fit on that site, so I don't know if that's feasible or not, given the
Okay,
layout of the site.
all right.
That's, I mean, that's fine, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, it still gives us flexibility. Right,
Exactly.
yeah.
I just don't want to get tied to only a
Thank you for
building.
clarifying. That was my biggest concern, is I didn't want it to be labeled as a central kitchen, and then we have, an expert come out, they look at our facilities and say, actually, you'd be better off adding on to Scranton, and then we can't do it, so we'll change that back.
So, yeah, so it still goes back to the question of what additional information do we need, like, for the 20th, right? I mean, that's what you're.
That's exactly what I'm asking. What can we gather for you? Can we put together, maybe we follow up with Ken, Katie, anybody else who wants to be part of it, and we really kind of hone in on the dollars around the performing arts. I think part of what I think gets everybody, it's the designs. And like you said, we've had 10, 15 different designs that have come through. Maybe really hone in on what those dollars are going to be. That gives you some flexibility on getting what you need. Continue the conversation. We can work on that a little bit. Maybe pare that down a little bit. I think that seems like a big one. Other than that, I feel like you're really close on everything else. And I think the Clark team's already pared this down. They have bird dog everything. I know that Scott and Dave have gone through every single thing from the district, from the financial operation perspective on that. So I think, Scott, you feel pretty good from your side, Dave. So whatever you need, let us know. Let us do the homework for you. Like if it's tomorrow, you think of something, just let us know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the technology, I'd like that number added back in just to make sure we've got replacement plus, instructional technology built into that, which is gonna increase this number. I don't know how much, but maybe that's what we need to talk about.
Yeah. Sounds like at least a couple million, so definitely.
Yeah,
For me, if you wanna text me the number that you guys are comfortable with, I'll just run with that.
yeah.
One thing we did forget to mention was the expansion of the seed shop. I believe that was something.
Expansion of
That was in the BCPA budget, that's separate from the diploma. They felt like maybe was not necessary.
What was it?
The seed shop expansion.
Oh,
Yeah, expansion of the
It
scene shop.
said it doesn't matter.
They felt more dressing room space would be
Because I
more
had
valuable.
originally talked about, you know the area better than anybody here.
So, that back room,
Yeah,
it is very valuable as dressing room space. Now, if we dedicate to dressing room space, it'd be great, but the scene shop can be moved as space outside the docking area so that, even, 20 feet to that gate would be excellent.
oh, like you're talking on the side, go out on the sidewalk.
Out that way, not in.
Yeah, 'cause I think as much as me personally would love the scene shop to go, into the other room, it would make making a show difficult because of the dressing room space. The dressing rooms that are there facing locker rooms, like you can barely have 10 boys in one, you can't have 40 girls, right? And so, that's why they need to use that, what's called the drama room. As a dressing
It's got all the curtain things in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked to the musical director, we talked to choir, orchestra, band on this too when we met with them. And they were like, look, if you build a bigger scene shop, we'll fill it.
Yeah,
And-
exactly.
and,
And it'll be full.
Yeah, and they're like, we're still gonna end up building outside, building on the stage, building wherever, but the dressing room space and/or additional rehearsal space were a much bigger priority. So,
That's when we get a revamp.
So we'll do that homework, we'll work on it, and I think we had put, we had asked for January 20th to be like the decision date, like that we have it set so that everybody has time to kind of finalize things for calling the election on February 9th. In particular, the legal counsel, being able to write up the ballot language and timing. I know that there's already been drafts from Chad and Clark on timing of projects, but that's important for the bond series. There's all kinds of things that people need to do to prepare for the 9th. So that's why that 20th deadline, we really need to make that decision by then. That would be our request to the board, so to kind of finalize that list and number.
All right, that moves us on to item B in the for future action, the financial literacy requirement. Yes, and thank you guys for being here tonight. We appreciate your.
Financial literacy, can I have Matt Evans come forward?
Sure.
Matt, would you be willing to come up? As he's coming up here, this is the new financial literacy requirement from the state of Michigan. We have 5 different ways that we can accomplish it here in Michigan, but there are some things that Matt's going to talk about that we need to do here. The policy committee heard this from Matt, and they made a recommendation to agree to Matt's recommendation he's going to talk about.
So I'll be quick. I know everybody's been here for a while tonight. So the gist of it is essentially somewhat recently the state of Michigan increased the demand on students in terms of graduation requirements. So right now, students are required to earn 22 credits in very specific areas in order to graduate with a Michigan Merit Diploma. And so the state identified a need for financial literacy amongst our students, and so what they did is they said every student starting with this year's sophomore class and all the classes that follow are required to have a half of a credit of what they call financial literacy. And so there are 7 specific standards that need to be addressed to meet that financial literacy requirement. And so as a high school, we had a few different options. We could either create a course that addressed those 7 specific standards, and that would just kind of be one additional class that students have to take in order to meet those requirements. But as you know, that has the potential to limit elective options available to our students. So instead, what we tried to do is look hard at those 7 financial literacy standards and see what courses, either all of those standards or the bulk of those standards, have been they're already integrated into those classes. And so what we tried to do was identify those courses and then see what we have to supplement with to be able to say those classes meet the 7 financial literacy standards. And so what we would do is if a student were to take economics, AP macroeconomics, close-up government and economics, personal finance, or AP business with personal finance, those courses have now been aligned to meet all 7 of those standards. And so by taking one of those courses, we would give the half credit for the course, and then we would also give the half credit for the financial literacy and be able to put that on a transcript. So essentially, students would get 1 full credit for what would otherwise be a half credit course. And so the ask of the board, currently there's policy in place that outlines the 22 credits needed for graduation. The recommendation would be an increase to 22.5 credits from the 22, which would need board approval. Really the rationale is you're requiring the same number of students because they're essentially double dipping on one of those courses that they're taking to provide that other additional half credit. Students are not being asked to take more courses, more credits, any of those. I mean, it's more credits, but it's via 2 for the price of 1, essentially, is what we're looking to do. And so 22.5 keeps it so you have to take the exact same number of classes as you've always had to take. It just incorporates this financial literacy piece without making them take an entirely separate course. We know that economics is a graduation requirement, and Close-Up meets both the civics requirement and the economics requirement. But if for some reason a student was using a personal curriculum or testing out of one of those courses and wasn't specifically taking the course, we would have a separate option that students could still demonstrate understanding in those areas. But this is going to be an easy way, since it's courses that a number of students are already taking, to meet the requirement without placing additional burden on our students.
Can I ask a question about that? Are there any other courses, any other instances where they're double dipping like that?
Not many. The only one currently in place is a credit recovery option where students have an online learning lab that they're earning credit for, as well as they're getting credit for the course that they're recovering because they didn't pass it the first time through. So that's really the only time that takes place. The only other exception would be other kind of different options, like dual enrollment, for example, based on how many credits the class is. It might count for 2 high school classes versus 1, but as those credit hours go up for a college class, we know that the workload is going to go up, and so it more appropriately aligns to sort of double dip in that situation. But this would be kind of unique to those situations.
So all students are required to take some kind of an econ course and somehow, so that they would get it covered through that. But if students are in a personal curriculum, is there another, just a financial literacy course, or what?
So there's not necessarily a course. You know, what we're seeing is there's a lot less students now that we have AP macroeconomics that are opting for that personal curriculum out of econ. Because there is an AP option that carries the weighted GPA and some of those components where we would see students go that route for those advanced studies in that area. Essentially what we'd be doing is we'd be creating a test out option that just addresses those 7 financial literacy standards. So if a student was doing a personal curriculum out of any of those 5 options, this would still be available to them so that we could still put that credit on the transcript and they could meet that new requirement.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to say thank you for finding a way to meet the requirement without them having to take another class. So I appreciate that.
Very important to us, for sure. We want to make sure students can take things that they're passionate about, but still be able to check the boxes of, you know, what we want to see on a transcript and what the state wants to see to issue the diploma. So.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Evans. That concludes the for future action, moves us to board committee chair reports, community recognition. Any committee chair reports? I would say from the finance, we pretty much talked about everything that, at one point or another tonight, whether it's the budget amendment or the moving forward with the chiller.
I think we covered
The bond, yeah, probably.
Pretty sure we covered that.
Any others?
Really, yeah, I was gonna say, we talked about policy too, so we don't really have anything to say either, I don't think.
All right. That moves us then to the point of the agenda where I'll make a motion to enter a closed session for the purpose of approving the closed minutes of June 9, July 14, August 11, September 8, October 13, 20, and 30, November 10, and December 3, 2025. Is there a second? I moved, so support by Mr. Stahl. Any discussion? Ms. Ackermight, roll call, please.
Mrs. Urbane? Yes. Mr. Storm?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney? Yes. Mr. Stahl?
Yes.
Dr. Trev? Yes. Mrs. Marks?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes, that passes 7-0 for all of you, or any of you who are online. We've concluded all of the items on our agenda, and when we conclude our closed session, the meeting will be adjourned. So we are going to recess into closed session now.